what did you learn from the management side of things?
It's not easy. I hate management. Hate is a strong word. I don't enjoy management. I'm really grateful that I had an opportunity to work with French in the capacity that I did, and he was like my friend. Like it was family. It wasn't like, there's management relationships where you're not really connected to the person. Like I knew his family. You know what I mean? So it was like he was an extension of my family in a way, or I was an extension of his rather. And so it's like you get a chance. If I could have thought of something, I could have brought it to life. You know what I mean? Like it was that. It wasn't like you're restricted by your client relationship and you're like, oh, I can't bring this idea because I'm going to piss off my artist or whatever the case is.
One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about is, I think I want to start kind of at, this is not your beginning.
There's no beginning.
That's what I was going to say. There's no beginning. I was just going to say there's no beginning, but there is Hip Hop Canada, which I think is so fucking fascinating. Do you remember that time?
I do.
Crazy. I don't even know, how did you get with those people? Like, they're from Montreal, right?
No, Ottawa.
Or Jesse. Jesse's from Ottawa.
Ottawa.
I don't even know if I've ever met Jesse.
Do you know who got me connected? You'll never guess.
Drake?
Nope. Drake was coming up at the time. This was pre-Drake, way pre-Drake. It's a lot closer to you than you think.
Give me one guess.
One guess. I can't even tell you the first letter because you'll know right away. Somebody I went to school with.
Will?
Nope. I didn't go to
school with. You went to school with?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I no.
Want me to tell you?
Sure.
Yasser.
Yasser.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
No
That's what
way.
connected me to Jesse. I was going to university, at Kitchener, at Laurier, and I was I met a local band at the time that was not as big as I thought they would be. Imagine, so you're not in the music industry, you're just a regular person listening to music. You meet somebody that says that they're an artist, and you're like, why aren't you on the radio? Why aren't you famous? Like, common sense.
Yes.
Mind you, I'd only been in Canada 5 years at this point. So I was like, fresh, basically. And so I was like, why aren't you guys famous? Oh, well, it's not that easy to be famous in Canada or to make music and be famous. And I was like, you know what? I can make you famous. And I put a concert together. That's the first thing I ever did in the music industry. I put a show together at Loose Change Louie's back in the day. And I advertised on Hip Hop Canada. And when I was going through the site, I was like, I love this. This is what I want to do. I want to be a journalist. I was going to school for sociology. Me and Yasser and Paul had a show.
Crazy. Which Paul?
Paul Selby.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Me, Yasser, and Paul had a radio show at our university.
Crazy.
At Laurier. And I told Yasser, this is what I want to do. I want to write. And he was like, I'll introduce you to Jesse, no problem. And I was like, really? I can be a writer? Like, to me, it was like, I can actually get a position. This is crazy. So I was able to contribute to pieces by, at first it was just like completely up and coming artists. There was no Google. There was no like Twitter.
What was your pitch to Jesse? You just said, hey, listen,
I want to write.
Yeah.
I want to write. I love the articles on here. I just want to write. Give me a chance. And he was like, okay, bet.
Okay.
Cool. You'll get a chance. And so he was like, there's a rapper, I can't even think of, Maya Moriarty.
Wow. Oh
there's
my
Maya
God.
Moriarty. But Maya Moriarty was popping at the time.
I remember. Yeah, of course.
So it wasn't Mayhem. It was like other artists. Like when I say early, I mean like so early. Think of this like 4 years before JD Era was popping.
Wow, I was just about to say JD Era, so probably like JB.
Possibly. No, not even JB was popping at the time. I'm talking like rappers that had Jesse would literally send me their press kits.
That's crazy.
That were in print.
Crazy.
One pager, and was like, go interview this person. And there's no Twitter, there's no Instagram, there's no Facebook, there's nothing. This is 2005.
Yeah.
Earlier than that. And it was like,
but for those who don't know, Hip Hop Canada was definitely a moment. That was like
Hip Hop Canada was the hip hop like grail of, for artists. Like if you got on there, if you got featured, it meant that you were doing something. It was a big deal, especially for Canadian artists. I know that for international artists, may have not been something that they cared about because it was international, right? But for Canadian artists, that was it. Our forum was the fucking forum. Like
the forum.
The Hip Hop Canada forum? Are you kidding me?
Jesus. I remember being on that
I don't
all
want to
the
name
time.
people about, everybody
No,
was.
that forum got crazy.
Everybody was.
No,
Everybody was.
you could say who was in the
No,
forum.
I'm not.
I'll say who was in the
You
forum.
say who's in the
we know
forum.
who was in the forum. Everybody was in the forum. And there was battles going on in the
There was
forums and
battles in
everything.
the
It was crazy.
forum. Yeah, the forum was lit. Like the Hip Hop Canada forum was it. And so, like, if you got featured on there, it was a big deal. So it taught me, Hip Hop Canada taught me a lot about like when the right time to go to press is. Like artists would come to me and say, here's my press kit, get my story, it's time for me to be on Hip Hop Canada. And I'd be like, you want to do this story now, but then you'll have a project coming out in 4 months and then you're going to expect another interview in 4 months. You're not getting an interview in 4 months. So like, I'm going to shut this down and we're going to revisit this when it's time for you to promote your project. Otherwise, you're wasting a press opportunity.
How did you know to think that way if you were so early in this?
Because common sense
for you.
For me, it was common sense. It was like, if you want to promote a project and you're not, and your project is not out, what are you promoting? What's the purpose of doing the story? So, it was that, so Jesse basically just was like, here's a bunch of rappers, interview them, and come up with questions. And I literally had to cut out of thin air. I'm like, okay, how did you start? I would ask the basic questions, but I was good. I was good at doing interviews, and that led me into writing bios because it was people wanted their bio to say written by Lola Plaku because I was the lead editor.
Oh my God! You know what? I actually
remember this.
I feel terrible that I actually forgot about this, but this was a thing that you were the first person that I remember that would write bios for people. Yeah. And it was the thing, is like, if you want a bio written, it's got to be from Lola.
Yeah, exactly.
And if it's not written by Lola, it's not official.
Yeah, and I would tell people like, oh, there's a writer. I don't want the writer. I don't want this. I want you to do the story. Even to a point where like, so I did a bunch of writing. And then it went from me being a contributing writer to me being the editor, and I was overseeing a group of writers they were contributing to Hip Hop Canada. And I would say, I have a writer that can do this piece, and certain people would be like, no, I want you to do the story. Yeah. So, it got to that. But yeah, I was doing bios, and that was kind of like my role. And while I was doing Hip Hop Canada, I was also contributing to Smoking Section. It was like during the blog era, so I was doing a lot of pieces for them. I went to Atlanta, and I stayed in Atlanta for a little bit, and I was interviewing, like Future and Dream and B.O.B., and I did some of the very first articles on them when they were just coming out at the time.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So Hip Hop Canada was definitely an era.
Lola Plaku, everybody. This is who we're dealing with right now. You are a legend.
I'm dating myself. I'm aging myself. This is crazy because it was so long ago. It was like 2 decades ago. But there literally was no search. Like I couldn't even. Was there a Google? I don't even remember.
Yeah,
I don't remember how I found.
I think there was a Google, but I know that there wasn't. Facebook really wasn't. It was MySpace really. That was kind of the MySpace era.
Yeah, it was MySpace era for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, look.
Top 8.
But look here. At the end of the day, top 8. At the end of the day, you've been in the space for 20 years.
Yeah.
And you're a very important person.
Thank you.
In the space.
Thank you.
And many would say that you were like one of the only women actually in hip hop at that time. Really. Yeah. When you look back at that journey, what is it for you that connects that entire thread for you?
What connects everything together is love and passion to see artists succeed across the entire thing. Like, if from the moment that I decided, I wasn't even trying to get in the music industry. I simply just want to see this group out of Kitchener succeed.
What was the group?
Embassy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Do you know Astral?
Yeah, of course.
Astral was a lead artist in Embassy.
Wow.
I know.
Did not know this.
Yeah, so it started with wanting to see an artist do well. And every concert I put together after that was because I believed in those artists at the time, and even to this day, that I thought they deserved a chance, and I wanted to do my best to support them. So across all of my endeavors, my passion for artist growth has been what has driven me to do the things that I want to do.
Mm-hmm. And do you still have that passion to this day?
I do. It's a little more complicated in the sense that it depends on which side of the path or journey I'm on, because it's harder depending on whether you're a part of the artist team, you're not a part of the artist team, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And I think the more information you know, sometimes you measure your decisions a little bit more. Whereas earlier in my career, I just was like, I want to do this. Let's go. I'm doing it, And so that's the challenge.
I want to take a quick break in the pod right now and talk to you guys about something I think could be of importance to you. If you're listening to this pod and thinking, I could really use some personal guidance right now, and you're serious about building your career in the music business, I'm now offering one-on-one private strategy sessions. These are fully personalized, just you and me tackling whatever you need in your music career. Listen, this is the part where you might be thinking to yourself, who the heck is this guy? Well, I got over 17 years of experience in the music business, whether it was working as a manager with artists like Jessie Reyes, or working with major record labels like Island, Republic, Universal Music Group, or Sony, or producing content for high-profile artists like The Weeknd and Eminem, to producing content for elite brands like the NBA and Nike. I can definitely and confidently say I can help you map out your next moves. Whether you want to talk about structuring your team, navigating the industry, scaling your brand, or just simply learning how to make money in this music business, whatever's most relevant to where you're at, let's talk. You can now book for a fee a one-on-one session with me, an artist manager and a podcast host, to help you figure out your next steps. Find the link in the description below to book a one-on-one consultation session. Also, big shout out to those who watch this podcast. Bringing value to an audience who seeks it is a blessing. I can't thank you enough for tuning in. I appreciate you. Now let's get back to the pod. So we're talking about Hip Hop Canada, and you were talking about that journalism side. So what happens after this here? You go, that's when I Love Lola starts? Around that time?
It was, I was contributing to multiple publications, including, like I said, Smoking Section, and then people were hiring me for bios. With that, I did Belly, and I did the entire CP, the bio for Sal and everybody else as a label, Danny Fernandez, everybody. And then Sal brought me on to support marketing for Belly and all the artists that he had on the label. So I did that, and at the same time, I was promoting parties. So I had, I don't know if you remember, Atelier.
Why does it sound familiar?
Atelier was the parties we did with like 200 people. It was a really small Atelier Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Which was super popular.
Hold on, what street was that on?
I was on, I don't remember. It was right across from Loki at the time.
Oh,
Lot. What was Loki?
Lot 332?
Lot 332, but it was called Loki before.
Oh, so it was on, Richmond.
Yeah.
Was it on Richmond?
No, it's not Richmond. It's the street over. Adelaide. No,
Adelaide, okay.
I think it's on Adelaide.
Okay.
I don't know, but anyway, so it was Atelier. I was doing parties, and but prior to doing that, I linked up with Taj and Director X, and I was doing Maximus Entertainment.
Maximus.
So I was supporting, at that time, social media beyond MySpace had started kind of like rolling out, Facebook, et cetera, and I know how to take advantage of like promoting events and reaching people, really and truly. So I connected with Taj. Taj is definitely one of my like older mentors in the game, and Taj was like, really?
Yeah,
yeah, of course.
Remember, I was a videographer, right?
Yeah, so he reached out and he was like, yo, why don't you come and promote some of our events? And he went from just promoting the events to actually booking talent. So like I knew some of the management teams because I had interviewed certain artists. So like Ross, I was the first person to bring Ross to Toronto when he had Hustlin'. Back we did a Caravana party at the Docks. I booked him for that.
Oh, you booked him for that?
When E-Class used to manage him, yeah.
Okay, crazy.
I had interviewed him in New York through Hip Hop Canada, kept in touch with the management team. So when we were discussing who we want to do that Caravana year, I was like, why don't we do Ross? And reached out to E-Class, set it up. And then a year later, I did Big Boy. I had a great relationship with Grand Hustle and Jay Jeter, and he was managing Big Boy and Young Dro and the whole Grand Hustle gang. So I brought everybody to Toronto, and we had them host the year after that.
Through the Maximus party?
At doing the Maximus parties, yeah.
Yeah, okay, crazy. So, because he also had 1 week where one year where he did like 4 different parties, like the whole Caravana weekend.
Oh my God, yeah, I don't remember which year that was.
But that was because he brought Ross a couple of times, I guess, because there was one that he brought Ross to Lot 332, I believe.
Oh, that I don't know. This was
the only reason I know that is because I filmed it.
Oh, that's crazy. No, I don't
filmed that one. But yo, actually, big shout out to Taj, because Taj...
He's mentored a lot of people.
He's mentored a lot of people, and I don't know if he gets the flowers that he deserves, but he really has been a part of this culture for the longest time in Toronto. And he's one of the first people to ever really bring A-list celebrities from hip-hop.
100%. Yeah, he had like Akon, and he had... We did Usher, Alicia Keys. Like they did all of the events.
Parties.
Yeah, so like for me, he saw something in me when it came to like helping promote their events, and also like if I didn't have a place where to book these artists, my relationship with them wouldn't go past journalism. You know what I mean? Because at the time I was so young, I didn't have the funds to produce concerts or events myself. So it was more so like, these guys are doing a party, you're artists, let's bring you to Toronto. My goal, not goal, but like because there wasn't social media wasn't what it is now. I became kind of like a conduit to the Toronto market for a lot of the artists I was meeting and interviewing. And it was like, I want to party in Toronto. Let's hit up Lola. So DJ Holiday, Gucci's DJ, very good friend of mine. I was the first person to bring him to Toronto because for me, it mattered to put on some of my friends that were down, in the South. They weren't really getting booked in Toronto. And so when I was throwing parties, I was, booking them.
Okay, that's interesting.
So I went into party promotion and then I was throwing my own parties in Toronto. I don't know. It was a hybrid of lots of things. And then I Love Lola, my blog was born from all of that because there was interviews that I couldn't publish, not because I couldn't publish, because it maybe didn't have as much like pull at the time for Hip Hop Canada or for Smoking Section. Like I was meeting all kinds of artists and I wanted to give them a platform, and sometimes it wasn't a fit for a particular platform. So I was like, well, I can just do my blog and I can post whatever I want on the blog. And so that's what Lola Plaku was born. It was more so just to be able to support artists that I as a person fucked with, not. Oh, can I swear?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
That I.
There's a podcast. It's my podcast. It's
cool. Just making sure.
Just making YouTube, don't worry.
So like I just wanted to put people on that I supported. That didn't necessarily need to fit a particular like timeline or editorial content or whatever the case is.
Yo, let's talk about Toronto in that time.
Ooh, okay.
Please.
Yeah.
What gives you that way?
It's a long time ago. It's like trying to remember all this shit.
It's an exciting time, that time.
Yeah, it was a great time to be in Toronto.
Yeah.
And very few people, no one now, I feel like the new era remembers it, but it was a great time for us when we were.
Yeah, it was.
there.
It was an amazing time. I think it was an exciting time. There was a lot that was happening and you could feel it. You could
100%.
feel it. Especially like 07, 08, 09 era. Like you can really feel a lot that was happening in the city.
Yeah, trying to think what I was doing at that time.
Talk to me about the importance of the community, because I think Toronto had a really bad reputation for being the screwface capital, as we always know.
My experience was incredible.
Well, this is what I'm saying. I mean, I think there was a time where it was like considered quote unquote the screwface capital.
Yeah.
But then there was another generation.
Yeah.
More so our generation, I would say.
Our generation for sure.
That was like, we were thinking about this more so like community based, that like everybody kind of rallying together to like build this thing and this infrastructure. And I bring it up and I want to talk about it because I think maybe it's because I'm not there, I don't know, and maybe there's pockets of this happening in Toronto right now, but it doesn't seem to have the same
no, I don't
kind
see
of
it anymore
energy.
Either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just kind of talk about that a little bit, and what is it that you remember from that era and like how important the community was and the aspect of it.
I had a great time coming up in Toronto and being in the music industry. And I'm lucky to say that everybody that I was working with supported my journey and my vision.
Yeah.
And I was so eager to support other people. So even sometimes where maybe somebody wasn't supporting me, I wouldn't have known, because for me, it mattered to support others. So like I wanted to amplify artists' voices. I wanted to support my peers. I wanted to support the parties that other people were doing to help co-promote, et cetera. So like for me, I don't know if people still feel the same way about, and not necessarily just Toronto, I think the music industry as a whole. I feel like I don't know if people want to necessarily lift up one another. Everybody's just so focused on like getting the next opportunity for them that even when I feel like sometimes even when somebody offers a helping hand, it's because they can get something in return, not because they genuinely want to see other people succeed. And that is a challenge sometimes that, it's like this is what I don't enjoy about the industry, that it feels like everything comes with relevancy. No matter how good you are at something, if you're not relevant or you can't do something for me, then I don't really give a shit about you. Whereas for me, being in the business at the time, it was just about, you're really dope at this, you should do this. Photo Will, perfect example. I brought him to take pictures at my parties. That's how he became Photo Will. He was shooting Maximus parties. He was shooting the parties that we used to be doing. Janet used to have her Tuesday night parties. I would be there. I would take the bus from Kitchener to support all of the parties that she did. So it's like, and people showed up for me in return as well.
For sure.
So it was like, but it wasn't because I needed something. It was genuinely because I was like, I fuck with this group of people and I really want to support them and I really want to go out and have a good time. I considered everybody my friend. And so I genuinely showed up, but I feel like it's become more transactional lately. And I think that people don't show up as much because there's nothing in it for them.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
Maybe social media plays a part in this?
Possibly. I think that people, it's like people portray a certain aspect of their life
Online.
than what it really is or what they really want. Whereas like you had to live life to be in it at the time. Like you couldn't just observe from your screen and like and comment and connect with somebody. You genuinely had to go and show up for people to show that you showed up for people. Now you can leave a comment and say something and boom, you showed up. You know what I mean? Whereas like I remember taking the Greyhound more times. Like I took the Greyhound from Texas to Toronto. That's like a 30-hour trip.
Really?
When I did my first showcase at South by Southwest, I took the Greyhound back because it was so expensive. Like South by was just super expensive, so I flew there and I took the Greyhound back.
Yeah.
I used to take the Greyhound to New York on a weekend if I needed to. If somebody invited me to a party and I wanted to show up to support them, I'd take the Greyhound for 11 hours, $100. Greyhound, 11 hours, go to New York, support, get on the Greyhound at 7 in the morning and come right back to Toronto.
Do you think that hustle is missing as well too in this generation?
Yeah, because I mean, people want to be lit. Greyhound is not fucking lit. Like, I didn't care about being lit. I cared about showing up. For everybody who doesn't know this,
that's a
Greyhound
bus.
is a bus line that runs from Toronto through Buffalo, through into Albany, and then into New York. And when I lived in New York eventually, I remember every time I would get off the highway, on 34th Street, I think it's 34th Street where the bus comes from, and I would literally get flashback of like arriving on the Greyhound at 7 a.m. after an 11-hour trip, and you're in Manhattan, you're in New York. But I did that because I wanted to support people. I wanted to show up. And I didn't expect them to take the Greyhound to Toronto to fucking support me, but that's how I built my network. I built my network by going places for people, and genuinely because I wanted to see them succeed. And I feel like that in return, that helped me, but not because I was doing it in a transactional manner. It was genuinely because I just wanted to see people succeed, you know?
Yeah. Okay, let's go back to I Love Lola for a second. You start I Love Lola out of a love of just covering all these people, and there's no space for this.
Yes.
Okay, tell me the process of going through that. Where did that lead you to?
The blog. So the blog initially started, like I said, just to post content for artists that I liked. If there was like concerts in the city that I wanted to support, like funny story. This is going to be this entire podcast is going to be a scenario of funny stories. Funny story. I had an artist of the team, Travis Mills podcast recently on Apple. Right. I did his first meet and greet in Toronto. And I did that through my I Love Lola blog because I wanted to support artists coming into the city.
Crazy.
So I was like, when I saw him, he was like, yo, I'm like, yo, like it was crazy, like long time ago. I mean, I'm talking like 2007 maybe, like I don't even remember. So I Love Lola it started as a blog to talk about, to interview artists and also talk about artists that maybe weren't there yet, for publication, but it just were, to me, it mattered. And then eventually that turned into the parties, and that turned into the concerts I was doing. And that was all part of like what I Love Lola became, which wasn't what I had initially intended. For me, it was really just like, again, on the writing side more than anything else.
How did you have the capacity to do that and then also do the TM stuff? I mean, throughout your entire career, you've been doing so many things.
I didn't sleep. Genuinely. Like I was going to school when I was doing, it's so crazy. When I was doing Hip Hop Canada interviews, so I was going to university, I was working at Scotiabank, I was working at Mr. Sub on campus, I was working at a clothing store in Toronto. Those were my jobs, and I worked part-time, and I never, like, when I worked at Scotiabank, they kept offering me full-time positions, and I kept saying no. They're like, we want to promote you to manager. I was like, no, because that meant that I couldn't pick up my shit and go to New York one weekend. When I was on call, I was just like part-time. I could choose the hours I wanted to work. So, but I worked at like fucking 10 different Scotiabanks around Toronto. Just to pick up hours whenever I was in town or whenever I was working. So I was doing all of that and then doing the interviews and then doing the parties and then doing everything else. And I interviewed Chameleonaire for Hip Hop Canada one year. And
I remember that.
Yeah,
interview.
and it's so funny. I interviewed him.
That was a big deal in Hip Hop Canada. I remember that.
And I interviewed him, and I was working at Square One in the clothing store at the time, and I interviewed him in my lunch break. And I was outside by where, do you know, downstairs, Square One, I'm trying to visualize, do you know where the gym is?
No, I'm not.
Are you not familiar with Square One?
Not,
okay.
I'm familiar with Square One, but I'm not from Mississauga.
Oh, okay, got it. My bad. I think it's like
my mom was Sheridan Mall on Jaden Wilson.
Oh, no, I don't know what Sheridan Mall looks like. No, so I'm sorry. I feel like it's common knowledge for everybody. Downstairs, Square One, literally by one of the side entrances, I was squatting on the floor just doing this interview, literally with Chameleonaire because I needed to get it done. So I was doing it on my lunch break. And I remember I had done so much research on him. Halfway through the interview, he stops and goes, yo, are you the feds? How the fuck do you know this much information about me? And I was like, I researched you. I mean, I would go super heavy. I would listen to previous interviews. I would literally like look at everything that people had done, like whether it was written, whether it was like a video interview. I would take notes. I would like, write things. It wasn't just like going on Wikipedia, reading somebody's bio or whatever Wikipedia says, and then going from there. So we stayed friends for years after that article, just because of how happy, how like impressed he was with that interview. And I did that, like I said, at my lunch break at Square One while I was working in a clothing store. So I don't know, I found time. I figured it out.
Yeah. And so you were able to, so you all of a sudden you go from doing the blogs, but then you get into the touring
Events,
side and events.
Well, the parties, it's really the parties that kind of like, that spearheaded that. It was like I was doing a lot of events. I was doing a lot of parties just because I wanted to put some of the people from the States on, DJs primarily, and like hosting more than anything else. And then I met Big Sean through my blog, I was doing an iChat Sessions. I was doing kind of like a video series called iChat Sessions. And my boy Hustle out of Chicago recommended that I meet Dillaman, who used to manage Big Sean. And he was like, yo, Dilla got this artist named Sean. He's fire. You should interview him for your blog. And I was like, bet, I'll interview him. I was in India at the time.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Yeah, I was there as a blog, like the top blogger from Canada on like a trip with Smirnoff. It was a whole thing.
Okay.
So I'm interviewing Sean from my hotel room in India, ironically. And anyway, so they were like, yo, Sean got a show at SOBs in New York. You should come check it out. This was 2010. I was like, bet, I'll come down. Took the Greyhound, went down, saw the show at SOBs. Kid Cudi was there. I'm trying to think who else was there. It was a bunch of different artists. And I saw Sean perform, and I was just like, holy fuck, I know who this audience is. Like, I know who they are in Toronto. I know where they would shop. Like, I know, I can recognize this consumer, and I can do this in Toronto. Like, I was like, I'm super confident that if I was to create an event for this artist, I know the people that would come. And so that's how my concert started. I literally, as soon as I took the Greyhound back home, I sent a pitch directly to Dilla and Mike Brinkley, who used to manage Sean. And I was like, guys, I want to do his first show in Toronto. I was like, I promise you, like, I'm going to bring all the right people out. I had already done so much stuff. I had already brought artists for parties, mind you, not concerts.
Right.
So I already kind of had that credibility of like doing shit in Toronto. And like they championed me. They were like, cool, let's do it.
Okay, so do you know in this moment in time that you're actually becoming a promoter in the city of Toronto? You're just doing this for the sake of doing it, right?
I did to some capacity, not a concert promoter, because when I was doing the party in Kitchener, it was funny. People were coming to me as like the Tri-City State promoter. And they were calling me Tri-City State promoter because I was like throwing parties at fucking Loose Change Louis and Phil's in Kitchener. So like, I already kind of people already threw that term around, and I already knew that I was a promoter, but not like a concert promoter. Like I wasn't, after Sean was a couple of other shows, and then me and Ramos collaborated on Rocky.
That's what I was gonna ask.
And at that point, that's when I was like, I'm not a promoter. Like, I'm just doing this because I genuinely want to see this artist perform. I'm not putting a bid in like every other promoter in the city is putting a bid in. I'm getting these shows because directly, like, it was funny because like the way I got Rocky, me and Yams were literally sitting up in the Bronx eating, and he called his agents and was like, yo, Lola's getting the show in Toronto. And on this side, I was like, I'm totally down to work with whoever.
Rocky called his agents and said, Yams.
Rest in peace, yeah. So he was like, yo, Lola's getting the show. Let's just figure out how we're all going to work on it. And then, when the team, I think his team at the time was like, Jonathan Ramos is the other promoter that put a bid in. I was like, bet, let's do it. Like, he's the legend. So we collaborated on doing that show together. But like,
Yeah. So Ramos so he connected with you. You guys already had a relationship.
It's like it's Toronto, right? So you kind of like know everybody, So I had been going to a lot of shows that Ramos had done, and I feel like I had probably promoted through my blog. Previous events, because people would buy ads at the time. They would buy banners on the blog,
of course.
ad space. So I was already promoting concerts, but I was never actually producing. Until Sean, I was never producing full concerts by myself. With Sean, it was like I paid for venue, I paid for artists, I paid artist fees, I paid venue fees, I paid security, I paid literally beginning to end. The entire production was me. There was no promoter, there was no buyer, there was no promoter company. It was all me. When I did French Montana, all me. 2,500 tickets, all me by myself.
Wow.
When I did...
what was that show? Was that the Cool House?
Cool House. Yeah, that was Cool House. I got French the next day. He was like, yo, you want to be my road manager? Literally the next day.
Is that how the relationship started?
That's how it started. I knew French from years prior to that. A friend of mine, Rick Steele, who worked closely with French, and he introduced me to French back in 2009.
Oh, and that's how you
So I've known him for a minute, and I knew that his popularity was like
starting to
growing.
increase.
And I was like, French would sell out. And one of my friends, Fresh actually was like, let's do it. French is gonna kill it. Me and Fresh was like, Fresh was the person that really encouraged me to go ahead and pursue doing a concert for French. But at the time, he hadn't left the States yet because he had come from Morocco when he was like 13 years old, and he hadn't left. So it was a lot of promoters that had tried to book him, but it needed, like, work was needed to be done in order to bring him out. I went and hired one of the best lawyers, immigration lawyers in Canada, and I did all of his paperwork. I literally drove to the border and literally handheld it myself across that border with all the paperwork to make sure they got in the country with no problem. I had an artist before that, and I don't want to drop artist names, but I had an artist before that was traveling through the border with weed in their bus, and they were on was it? They had just got out with something. I don't even know what the fuck their legal situation was. But 3 o'clock in the morning, I get a call from his manager, Lola. Don't freak out, but we're at the border. They found some weed in our bus, and we might get sent back. This is the night before a show. This is one of the shows that I had done, not French. This is another artist. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I could literally call the lawyer. I was like, I don't know if you're up right now, but please help me. And he was like, you're lucky. I just woke up to feed my 2-year-old. So I saw your email. He called the border, smoothed it all out.
Oh, you sent him an email?
I sent him an email. He saw it at the time. I didn't call him. I just sent him an email. He saw it. He happened to see it, called me. We communicated. He called figured out I don't know who he called at the border. All I know is my artist got through. And yeah, it was legendary that I got him. I don't even know how he got in, but he did.
That's amazing. I mean, look, at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're getting it done by any means necessary, essentially.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's like that a regular promoter is not doing that. They're not calling an attorney that is billing you $500 an hour to get you out of a fucking jam. You know what I mean? Whereas like for me, I went and got the attorney. When I needed to sign the contract with French, I flew to Atlanta. I took French to dinner, and then we signed the contract. It wasn't just like, oh, here's like, I'm gonna book you for a show, here's a contract via email and sign it. I was so adamant about making sure that like people knew that I was genuinely interested in the show succeeding, and I wasn't just a buyer putting an offer in.
That's why you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
for French, I literally flew out. Because I had other promoters in the city talking about they had French booked. And I remember calling him being like, French, I'm getting a lot of other promoters saying they have you booked in Toronto, and I'm not trying to like, I don't want it to be a no-show. Like, this matters to me. I don't want, at the time there was a lot of flaky promoters, artists. I don't know if you remember, artists had to go on Twitter being like, and that's what separated me from some of the other people, that artists genuinely would do video drops for me. They would go on Twitter and be like, shout out to I Love Lola. So people, the audience, knew that it was a legit show, knew that the artist was gonna show up because they were also promoting me or supporting me.
Yeah. If Lola was behind the show, you knew that it was gonna happen.
It was gonna happen, exactly. So, and French solidified that, because I think other people that tried to book him at the time and no one had succeeded at bringing him in.
Okay.
It required a lot of work to just do the right paperwork to bring him in, and I went the extra length.
Can I ask, did you make a profit on that show? Did you break even? Did the profit even matter? Because at the time, is it really just about building the relationship?
I didn't make fucking profit off that show.
Because you're flying to get the contract.
No. It was not even just that. I didn't include that as a part of the total budget. Just off of like everything else. The only reason why I didn't break even, that show specifically, there was a bunch of tickets that I thought were taken care, they were sold after the fact, because we had physical tickets. Like, I had an actual street team. Like, my method wasn't like put it on the internet and sell it out. I built street teams for people to actually go out and sell tickets. So when I did my second show with Sean, so my first show with Sean was in January of 2011. And we did a meet and greet at Stussy. I remember going to Matt George. There was a Bun B was having a meet and greet at the time, and Matt was there. And I go in and I say, Matt, let me do a meet and greet at the store. I'm gonna fucking kill it, I promise you. He was like, who is it? I'm like, it's a kid named Big Sean. This is his crowd. I promise you, like, it's gonna be amazing. He's like, okay, where do you wanna do it? I was like, Stussy or, what's the other one? Nomad.
Nomad, yeah.
And he was like, okay, you can do it. I mean, it was like 250 kids lining up in minus 30-degree weather. There's still videos on the internet of Sean crying, literally on the mic. I'm next to him, he's crying. He's like, yo, I can't believe like all these people showed up for me. It was just a beautiful moment. And from that, I literally went on Twitter and I was like, I need a street team after that show, I built a street team of those fans that came, that were like so loyal, that showed up to the meet and greet. Some of those kids that showed up at that meet and greet became my street team for the second concert I did with
So smart.
Sean at Cool House. So what I did was I got 20 kids. Damn, I'm giving out all my fucking tips.
This is what it is.
It's all good.
This
it's all
is
good.
what it is. This
so
is
I got
what the
I got a group
podcast
of
is.
kids that cared, and they sold me X amount of tickets. That guaranteed them 2 free tickets at the show, and anything they sold on top of that, they made a profit on it. So if the tickets was $40, let's say, they made $5 off per ticket, or $10 per ticket, or whatever the case is. So now imagine 20 kids, 20 tickets each. That's 400 seats already sold, right? On top of that, some kids would sell 100 tickets. That's, so Cool House is 2,500 capacity.
Yeah.
400 seats guarantees it's not dead. At
Right.
least 1/5 is sold out. So that was kind of like my street team. So they got free tickets, they got beat the line, and they got to meet Sean backstage.
And these kids became your street team for all the shows
No,
that you were
just
doing?
for that show. And
Just for
every
that
show, I would look for a different street team. Like I'd be like, hey, who wants to be on the street team? I'm doing this concert.
Yeah.
Looking for street team members. And I would have I Love Lola's street team at some point. So I had certain kids that were like a part of like, anytime I did a show, like that's who I would go to. But most of them, it was just different. Because you want to cater to the artist fan base. Like who cares about Sean might not care about French or the
Right.
next artist or the next artist, you know?
Right.
So yeah.
Did you know that this is all a part of marketing at this time? that you're
No,
doing this?
God. To me, it was just second nature. It was like, how am I going to sell this show? And I just saw how crazy the kids. I saw how much they actually cared about this artist. Like genuinely, I saw how much they wanted to be next to him, or how much they were like supporting him that early on in his career.
Are any of those kids people who have gone on to do anything in
Yes.
the like who?
Tamisha,
Wow.
who now is head of production at Colors.
Wow.
She was year one Girl Connected.
Okay.
And she knew of me because she came to my Big Sean meet and greet.
Really?
Yeah, that many years ago.
Crazy.
Yes.
You have a whole generation of individuals that you're basically building what people do online now, and it's just like they're building it in the Discord groups and all that stuff, right? But you're doing this
But I was
in real
doing
time.
it in real time, in person, with people.
Because you didn't have any other option to do it that way, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think Twitter, when I started doing content in 2011, Twitter was like what predominantly was, how people were communicating and supporting each other. And that's how the community groups were being built for me. And then Tumblr. Tumblr was massive.
Yeah. So now take me to this French Montana. He tells you who wants to become the tour manager. Okay. So he says, I want you to be my tour manager. What do
Doesn't
you
happen
say?
right away, obviously. I was like,
Yeah.
it was impressive because I had worked with a lot of artists, U.S. teams at the time, and I was very thankful because no one had actually extended a job to say, yo, you've done a lot for us, or you've been really great, and I want to work with you. Come join our team in the States,
Yeah.
And so, and sometimes the thing is, though, that I know now that sometimes you have to actually ask for those things. Like no one knows that you're looking
I know.
if you're not actually fucking saying you're looking.
You're just expecting,
You're
hey,
just expecting somebody to,
people should see me. Like,
yeah. So, but I was seen. It just was more of a matter of like.
No, but people think in that moment in time, not to cut you off,
it's
but
okay.
people are thinking that like she's got it all figured out. She's
Yeah, that's
crushing
what I'm saying. I think everybody thinks that. I think that was what the biggest, not downfall, but like if you could go back, what would you do? I say that I would definitely speak on the things that I wanted to do more, right? But the challenge is that you don't know what you want to do because you don't know what you don't know. I say this to everybody, all the mentees that come through Girl Connected now, where it's kind of like they don't know where they want to end up because they only know as far as they've understood. Like
Yes.
if you only lived in Toronto and you only know the music industry in Toronto, you only know how far you can go based on the people that you've met and you've experienced in your Toronto community. You don't know what jobs are available beyond that. And so for me, it's like
and you'll stay broke forever.
yeah.
Sorry.
But so like if nobody puts you onto game, how are you gonna find out? So for me, it was like I was doing all these amazing things, and I wish that I had just like spoken up more and I had said more things. Anyway, so French just was like, yo, we should work together, like join my team, not be my tour manager, more so like my road manager, something along those lines, right? And I was like, cool, we'll talk about it. It didn't happen right away. The very next year, he came back for OVO Fest 2012. Prior to that, all of a sudden, I get a call. I'm on tour with Tyler Medeiros and Florida and Pitbull. And I get a call in our dressing room, and I get a call from somebody being like, hey, yeah, I want to book French for my birthday party. I was like, okay. Why are you calling my line?
Yeah.
And she was like, what do you mean? Your number's on his Twitter. So like, how can I get him booked?
And you didn't know that?
I called French. I was like, what? I go on his Twitter and I see my phone numbers on there for bookings. Call Lola, and that was it. And then, I worked with him from then moment on. So it was like the show I did with French was November 2011, early 2012. That was it. And then in 2012, August, he came through for OVO Fest, and we were working together at that point.
What's the experience of being a road manager? What are some of the things that people should look out for when they're being a road manager? Things to consider.
Attention to detail, communication. Like, I feel like a lot of people don't understand how important it is to communicate with your entire team. Especially depends on whether if your artist is signed. Like, most people that get on the road forget to like inform their label of like what the artist is doing a lot of the times, and like they can't support you if they don't know what you're doing. When I started at Interscope, Keenan, who was the head of the radio team, he said to me, he was like, you might not remember this, but when you were working with French, you were the only person that was keeping us in the loop with what was going on and where he was so they could set up radio promo. And I was doing that subconsciously because I genuinely just wanted to make sure the team was kept in the loop, not because I knew the value that radio could bring to the campaign at the time or how radio worked. It was just like, okay, you guys are the label, you should know where he is and what the routing is, So, but I feel like, so when you're on the road, a lot of the times you're so busy dealing with the intricacies of what the artist needs and, the immediate, like everything is urgent, right? The artist needs something right now. And you forget that there's all these other people that are part of the ecosystem that could truly help you and the artist. And you're not tapping in because you're just so focused on like supporting this. But then there's this entire, like I said, ecosystem of people that you can grow and you can build with. And the artist can build with that you forget about because you're so busy being on the road.
Not to digress, but where does this intuition come from?
No idea. I have no fucking clue.
Folks?
I don't know. Maybe it comes from like moving so much. Like I was in Albania until I was 13. I learned English when I came to Canada, and then I went to school in Kitchener, and then I went to New York and lived in Atlanta.
So you kind of just always had your head on a swivel, like got to figure it out, kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm very determined. I was gonna say headstrong, but let me say determined. Sounds better.
Headstrong. We can say headstrong too.
I'm very determined. If I want something, I will go do it. I don't need anybody's help. I will figure it out. I don't care. I do not drive to this day, and I live in LA at the moment.
Which surprised me actually today.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
So like, my husband, when he hears this, he's gonna be like, yeah, because I drive. But no, like I figure it out. It doesn't matter to me. I live in Atlanta. When I lived in Atlanta, when they were shooting Buy Me a Drink, I remember having to join Jay Jeter on set. It was being shot in Little 5 Points. And I took the bus, and then the MARTA, and then the bus again to get to the set, to the video shoot. And I hopped off the bus, and the first person I see is Jay Jeter. And he's like, what the fuck? How do you even know which bus to take in Atlanta? You could have just called somebody to come pick you up, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, yep, I don't want to depend on anybody. I didn't need anybody to like do me any favors. I'll figure it out and I'll get to where I need to go.
But why don't you drive?
I don't want to drive.
Is that because you're getting work done?
No, I got in an accident when I was 16. I got in an accident when I was 18 or 19.
Okay.
And it scarred me, and I feel like I'm too distracted, and driving requires your ultimate focus. And I don't know. I never drove.
Hey, well, at least you know that you're very distracted, and thank you for keeping our roads safe.
Listen, it's not even you. People are careless on the road, and
That's
if you're
true.
not, you got to be
now.
on 120 all day. Like you got to be 120% present, not just 100 present, but 120% present, because you got to be responsible not just for the way you drive, but to maneuver around other people that are shitty drivers. I am nervous that I might not be able to maneuver around those drivers, and that shit can happen in a fucking millisecond. So like for me, I haven't worked up the courage. I'm headstrong and I'm determined. I can do anything else. Driving, I'm not there yet.
That's okay, everybody. Like, listen, nobody's perfect, okay?
Yeah.
We just determined right now that Lola isn't perfect.
Yeah, there you go.
We all thought that. We've all thought that. We've all thought that, but now here's just a little chink in the armor.
You're chipping away at my imperfections. It's all good.
No, but listen, I mean, it's just amazing to hear all these incredible things that you've done. And there's a lot of background in this story that I never really heard, and I just love hearing this story. And it's fascinating to me that you're still moving so much in that direction of just continuing to kill it. At a certain point, you're working with, you did the concert for Big Sean. you got on the road with French. At a certain point, you were also, I would say, day-to-day managing French, right?
Yeah, yeah.
How did that experience come about? And also just, what did you learn from the management side of things?
It's not easy. I hate management. Hate is a strong word. I don't enjoy management. I'm really grateful that I had an opportunity to work with French in the capacity that I did, and he was like my friend. Like it
Yeah.
was family. It wasn't. There's management relationships where you're not really connected to the person. Like
Yeah.
I knew his family. You know what I mean? So it was like he was an extension of my family in a way, or I was an extension of his rather. And so it's like you get a chance. If I could have thought of something, I could have brought it to life. You know what I mean? Like it was that. It wasn't like you're restricted by your client relationship and you're like, oh, I can't bring this idea because I'm going to piss off my artist or whatever the case is. Like he was just more so like, you want to do all this shit, do whatever. You know what I mean? Like you could do as much as
That's
you wanted to
amazing.
do. And I was in a position where I was communicating on his behalf across so many different things, and I'm working with so many different people, and you have this opportunity to build incredible relationships, and that's what I did in all the years that I worked with him. So the one thing that I feel like managers, I don't want to say don't realize, but like as much as you're putting the artist on, the artist is also providing you with an opportunity to become the best version of yourself that you want to be, or to figure out where you want to go down the path. And I think that I was I don't want to say young, but I it's not like I studied management. It's not like I was led into management. It just so happened, I became a responsible adult, so to speak, around,
room.
and it was like by default, you're management.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So it was one of those things where like if I had known that I wanted to launch a management company, or if I had known that this is the path that I wanted to move forward in life, maybe I would have taken certain relationships or certain paths a little more seriously. I would have developed certain relationships further. But it wasn't like it wasn't like I was looking at it like this is my career. I was still figuring out
interesting.
where I wanted to be at the time. Even now to this day, like if you ask me what do you want to do, I want to figure out ways to develop artists. I want artists to succeed. I want, whether it's artists, now more than ever, companies. I want artists and companies that they're a part of to succeed. I want the teams to be able to be successful, not just the artists necessarily, the people that work behind them as well. But like, it took me this many years to get to this point. Now, what does that look like for me? I still don't know. I'm still figuring it out. Could it be in a management capacity? Possibly. Could it be in a label capacity? Possibly. All I know is that I want to be able to grow other people, pour onto others in some capacity. And so, it's just like, but when I was in it, I was so in it. That's why I said, like, you're so in it, you're not thinking of like, well, if I do this, that's gonna lead me to this, and that's gonna lead me to this, and then career-wise, I'm gonna pivot into this. I wasn't thinking that way at the time. So I feel like what I wish, like if I could do management, if I was doing management now, or if I could go back to what I was doing then, but knowing what I know now, I would have launched the company. I would have launched the management company. I would have taken on more clients. You know what I mean? I would have maybe taken certain relationships a little more seriously. I was just really grateful to be in that position and to truly help a person live their life or like enhance what they were doing. And so, I don't know. It was a great experience for me.
Is there a reality from? I think there's this. This is what's really great about this podcast, is because we talk about the realities of the music business and the realities of management. Was there a certain point where it just kind of, we're just like, I love these people, but this isn't the path that I'm going to go on?
No, that's when I parted ways. It was like, I had worked with French for so long that it got to a point where I'm like, I don't know that I want to do management. Like, I want to do more of the marketing. I want to do more of the ideas and the executing of ideas. And so I still stayed on the team, and I worked. Sal took over management at that point, and I still stayed on the team.
From you?
Yeah. I still stayed on the team, and I still supported all of the projects and everything he had, and I worked closely with him and Sal, as I had worked with Sal for obviously many years. So, but I wanted to see the ideas come to life, and I still want to see the ideas come to life.
What is it that
I don't want to be on the road? I find I don't have FOMO anymore. People have FOMO. I don't have FOMO. I see people going out to events, and I'm like, I'm so happy for you.
I feel you.
I'm so good though.
Yes.
So, but at a time when you're in,
what time does it start? It starts at 8:30.
I was like 9. My
No,
kid. Oh
9?
no, I don't know.
No.
You're not seeing me. Like this is a treat. You know what I mean? Like
Thank you. I appreciate it.
But yeah, so like, But at the time, you're in it. You're working with artists. You kind of feel like you have to be everywhere. You have to like be available all the time. And like it got to a point where I just was like, I don't want to be somebody's everything, you know. And not just French. I was working with the other artists at the time too. And I was like, I don't want to be kind of like tied into like you being needed all the time. I simply just want to see the overarching strategy, and I want to be able to see the big picture, you know, of seeing the career roll out. But you know, I could have taken different approaches at the time. I just, like I said, you don't know what you don't know.
Even bringing in some people to help you as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I could have had.
So who were the other artists that you were working with at the time?
I was working with Safe.
Okay.
So I was working with an artist named Lemon from Toronto. Me and John Manili were working. Me and John Manili were working with Lemon. I was working with Fredo. I launched Savage Squad Records for Fredo Santana. So
all in this time that you're doing day-to-day management for French, and you're working with Lemon and everything. Wow.
Lemon was a little bit. Lemon and Safe were towards the end of my time with French. I want to say, but Fredo was in it. Like I was working with both artists at the time. So yeah, when we built Savage Squad Records, I was working with French and Fredo at the same time.
What was that looking like? Because that is part of artist development, but you were developing a label for.
Well, it was a necessity. It was like you have these kids from Chicago that are putting their records out for free. They're not really monetizing anything. They're not making money of the music they're putting out. And it's like, how can I help them put things out and actually monetize and be able to like make money and stream and sell merchandise and do shows and all of that. And that's what I wanted to build. And Fredo was just really passionate about, rest in peace, was really passionate about building Savage Squad Records, because his brother was a rapper, and all of the homies that were, you know, they all came up with, he wanted to give them an opportunity. So he wanted to sign them to his label. And that's why he started Savage Squad Records. And I helped him start that.
What was the first piece to starting that label, if you could remember? Like, what was the most important thing for you in that, where you're like, okay, this is what we got to figure out here?
An attorney.
Okay.
An attorney, a good lawyer. That's how we were able to get the label started. So I worked with an attorney in New York that was like, okay, you guys need to launch an LLC, and this is what it needs to be, and this is the business you need to set up.
I want to talk about two things that I think you're incredible at. I think artist development, and I also want to talk about marketing.
Okay.
Okay, and I know that's the stuff that excites you.
Yes.
So let's talk about artist development.
Yeah.
How do you approach artist development?
Cool. It depends. It depends on whether you have an artist that has never released music out, or whether an artist that wants to release music out, or artist that has music out and you want to grow them and take them to the next level. For me, the biggest thing is, how good is the music, right? Well, no, it's not the biggest thing, because the first thing I look at is the audience. Some people, on an A&R perspective, some people look at it, is this music good? There was records that Fredo put out that I was like, I can't even fucking listen to this because it's not mixed properly. But he didn't give a shit. He wanted to put it out anyways. But there was an audience there. You know what I mean? So it's like, there's a consumer that genuinely likes this person because of who they are, not necessarily because of like how good a record sounds, whether it's mixed properly, whether, you know, the volumes are pitched adequately, or whatever the case is. So what I'm good at, and what I have like a strength in, is understanding and recognizing somebody's audience. And once I know that, then for me, marketing is from there. It starts from there. If I don't know who your audience is, if you don't know who your audience is, then it's really hard to come up with any sort of marketing strategy. And there's many artists who are lost in that they don't know who their audience is, because they want to be this way, but then they want to be this way. They want to have this artistic direction, but then they're like, I want to make music for myself. I want to make music that I enjoy. But then it's like, okay, so who is the person that's listening to this music, you know? And for me, for any artist that's watching this, it's, you need to know who you're making music for. And 90% of the time, it's people who are like you. Most people that listen to you are people who are also like you.
That's a good point.
You know, it's people who dress like you, or like to dress like you, or who consume the same things. So like when you're looking at an artist fan base, look at what the artist does, and look at and even if it is an artist that's a recluse, that doesn't do much shit, still their fan to some extent is a reflection of them. You know, so for me, it starts with the artist, but when the artist doesn't know who they are, that's the hardest thing to do, because then you also don't know who the consumer is. So you start there. You start with the consumer. You start with their habits. You start with their consumption habits. What websites do they frequent? What blogs do they go to? What space do they occupy in culture, in entertainment, in life? And are you marketing to them in those spaces? Are you getting to them where they're at? Are you trying to bring them into something completely different that they're not a part of? And if you do that too quickly, you might lose people. But if you do that right at the right time, they grow with you. You know what I mean?
Can you tell me about an example of when you did that successfully and you did it in a major way and it was really great?
I have too many examples. Like I can't even.
Because so you worked early on with Abel the weekend.
We did the first show for him. Abel's I don't know, I can't say that I was the person that did that, but
For sure.
for an artist that I worked with, Abel's one example. His audience was his audience. His consumer was his consumer. They liked the lyrics to his music. They liked the visuals that he was putting out. You know what I mean? Like, it was like a reflection of who he was, you know? And then he didn't grow, he didn't become the amazing pop star, the international star that he is now. He grew to that point, and his fans, the fans that were his fans back in 2011, are still his fans now in 2025, and they've grown with him. And then there's new fans that discover him at this stage, or that like him for the artist that he is now. They might not even know House of Balloons, you know what I mean? But he's one artist that did that in an exceptional way, where his audience grew with him because they were, you know what I'm trying to say? They were like, they were him. They were a reflection of who he was. And his fans continue to become a reflection of who you are as you grow in your career, in your process.
Yeah, when you say you did the show with them, like, what was the show that you did?
Mock Club.
Lola? I did not know that.
Really?
I did not know
I mean, I worked with a team that was working with him, but yeah, I remember crying.
That's probably the most iconic show that ever took place in Toronto. One of.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, yeah.
I know.
Everybody was in that building.
Yeah, I have my pass. I think I have probably one of his first autographs. No, not first. One of the first autographs. Like, I still have my pass that says "I love Lola" with the Mod Club.
You got to show me
with
that.
The tickets. I have the ticket. I have the pass. I have the flyer. I have literally everything framed because that show was just so epic.
Yeah, it was incredible. Like, I mean, just the FOMO of not being in that building and that it carries on for years. I still have it to this day.
You were there?
I wasn't there. No, I wasn't there.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I wasn't there.
I was responsible for the door. I let everybody in. I'm so sorry.
No. I mean, I didn't even like.
Oh, you weren't even there.
I wasn't. It wasn't that I was trying to get in or anything like that.
Okay,
I don't even think I was in the city, to be honest with you.
Thank God. Okay.
No. It's fine. It's totally fine. It's okay. I wasn't even in the city at that point.
He sold those tickets for $20, and they sold in 20 minutes. I remember Lamar texting at 12:20 and said tickets are sold out. 500 tickets. Crazy. He put them for sale, physicals, dropped the location, and was like, tickets are going up now, this location, at this time, 12 o'clock. By 12:20, tickets were sold. 500 tickets, all physical, nothing online, which means 500 people showed up at 12 o'clock at a location and picked up those tickets in person.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you take that as the example, right, of just how somebody was able to connect with their audience, what is it that you think that he did so exceptionally well? Because, I mean, obviously the music was incredible.
Yeah.
There was even a mystique about him at that time. He didn't show his face. Nobody even saw his face until that show.
I remember he used to go to clubs and people still didn't know what he looked like.
Yeah, nobody knew what he looked like. Yeah, I actually remember seeing him at a club one time, and that was when he was just starting to show his face. And I remember seeing him there with a bunch of people, and I was just like, that's the weekend. Yeah, but nobody knows that's the weekend. I'm like, that's crazy. What is it that you saw there that would, like, why did that connection happen and so fast? And like, what was it there in terms of that marketing?
I mean, it happened. It wasn't too fast. Like, he was doing, I think he did a tour with Florence and the Machine. And then he went on his own tour in the US, and he was like doing the right rooms. He was going out and performing for people. Yeah. Which a lot of artists don't do. So it wasn't like internet marketing where you're just, putting assets out and that's it. It was like, and he created a hype. He had Thursday, and there was like projects that were dropping where anticipation was built. Yeah. For those projects. And then he went on tour and performed those projects. And the music were just so good that people were anticipating it. You know what I mean? I feel like I don't think that anybody has created that type of anticipation for a project since.
Hard to say.
Yeah.
It's funny how people call it a trilogy. Like, I think of it as separate albums still to this day. Like House of Balloons,
for me it was
Thursday.
Echoes of Silence. Yeah. So but it, I think, is a trilogy after the fact. At the time, it was the projects.
Yeah, they were projects.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that even more. Artist development and going and performing. How important is it to go on the road and make sure you build out?
I mean, it's so important because it's like, I feel like that is how you build, and that's how people connect with you. Like, I know that now, the reason why Kai and all these other streamers are so impactful is because people see personality. People get to be able to see who they are, how they behave, the things that they like. They get to know them. When an artist is going on the road, you get to connect with the person that's that's you're a fan of, right? And so I think that it's important. It's important for people to also hear the music live so that they can be a fan of it. Like, I haven't heard anything exciting about tour. I mean, yes, there's tours that are super exciting, but like most recently, the most recent tour I can think of, where I don't want to say I had FOMO, but it was like a lot of people I knew were in the room, was Cleo Soul.
Yeah.
And everybody's talking about my girl.
The
She's
Radio
Albanian.
City show in New York.
The 3 Radio City shows in New York.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. This artist has 500 at the time. When I remember looking at her Instagram, she had 500,000 followers on Instagram, and she sold out 3 shows back to back at Radio City Music Hall, which for everybody, I think that's a 5,000 capacity venue.
It is. That's Madison Square Garden, basically.
Yeah. It's a smaller room at MSG. Yeah. Oh no.
No. I mean, like the
City,
size of it. It's 15,000 people.
15,000.
You can sell out MSG if you wanted to.
Yeah. So, to me, it's like, that was a show that I think maybe it was because the people that went created a lot of anticipation for it, or, I didn't go, so I can't say how good it was, but that's one artist that created, because the show was so good and because people truly enjoyed going there, their echoes of that experience are now creating even more new fans, where they're like, holy shit, I gotta go see this artist perform live. Whether I knew her music or not, whether I know anything about her or not, I gotta go fuck with this artist. Because everybody I know is at this fucking show. Like, I know people that are like, older than me even, who are like, I don't go out for shit, but this was like my favorite experience. And so to me, it's like, doing a show, you're just building an audience, but it's got to be the right. You got to know, like, it's got to be the right show. The performance has to be good, and it's okay to try. It's okay to like figure it out along the way. But when an artist has it at least somewhat figured out, like, I know what my show is going to look like, you build a legacy. You build fans that way. Kehlani's a perfect example of that too. When I did her first show in Toronto in 2014 as well. That's how I know. I knew David because David had Above Ground. He was doing parties as well in the Bay. And
shout out to David Ali. I was literally just talking to him today.
Incredible person. But so, like, she's been touring ever since the first project she dropped. Ever since the show that we did together in 2014, I have seen she has been on the road consistently, and now she's doing 15,000 caps plus, I think, on the last tour that she did. Right.
Yep.
So it's like, you just build. Never mind income. That a lot of artists don't even forget about the fact that there's income in building out your live show, right? Like, people think that, okay, streaming is where my revenue is going to come from. And if you're signed, technically, that's not where your revenue is coming from, right? So it's like merchandise and touring. Most artists don't really think about how to build out their music as a business. They really just think about putting music out and becoming popular, and that's really it. And I think going on the road also builds your business. Yeah. So it builds a foundation for people to say, I saw this. Like, I still have tickets to half the shows I went to. You know what I mean? When tickets mattered. So it's like you remember the experience, you remember the artist, you remember, what that felt like, and you become a fan. And so, a lot of the artists that are still successful to this day is because they're constantly on the road and because they're constantly touring.
Incredibly important as well in that note is don't skip any steps, right?
No,
so like, if you can go, she's a perfect example. She did Radio City, did 15,000 tickets.
Yeah.
You could do Madison Square Garden, but if you do Madison Square Garden, the experience is different. And nobody gets to experience that. There's people in the room who were there. They feel like now they're kind of part of this club.
No, that's what we're talking about. Able to, like, when you're like talking about how did he do it right? Like, he sold 500 tickets in 20 minutes. He could have gone to a bigger venue. He could have gone to Phoenix easily, right? But no, that experience. Would it have been a mistake? I don't know, but the experience would not have been the same for those fans that were in that room that were like, this is never happening again. You know what I mean? So I think that and
it's never going to happen again. That's the thing. There's a feeling in the room when that happens.
That you're like, this is an experience of a lifetime.
Yeah.
And so for me, shows, and I mean, I'm also passionate about shows because I produce concerts myself. So the feeling that you get when you see the artist go in front of a stage and you hear them singing. I did Trinidad James in New York. So my Santos Party House show with Trinidad was, I don't want to say equivalent to Able, obviously, but for New York, if you lived in New York at the time, this was a show that it was like everybody was trying to get into. I mean, I was over capacity. I had to sneak in Kevin Lyles. I had to sneak in Action Bronson, A$AP Rocky. I had to sneak in literally everybody to the show because it was over capacity. And Santos Party House was a 350 cap venue. I had done a lot of concerts at the time there in 2012, and I did Trinidad James. And it was fucking bananas. I literally met with every label because he signed at Def Jam the day after my show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I met with every label after that, and the conversations were, how did you do this? Like, how the fuck did you break this artist off of one record? Anyways, he did All Gold Everything 4 times that night. There's literally videos of him just continuously doing it. He was performing off the fucking counters. He was performing all over the place. And there's nothing like that energy. Like, I still watch those videos and I still get like chills of remembering those shows. You know what I mean? And that show's never gonna come back again.
Right.
That's a once in a lifetime.
But let's answer that question. How did you do that? How did you sell 350
I invited
tickets
the right people.
in New York? By the way, him not being from New York, off of
Correct.
one record, essentially.
Correct. You build anticipation. I also invited all the right people. Like, I know, even with my first show with Sean, I gave half the tickets because I was inviting people that I wanted to come to the concert. Like, I gave away so many tickets. Same thing with French too. I gave away tickets. I wanted to have the right people there because it matters, because that's word of mouth. Those are the people that, same thing with what I'm talking about the Clio Soul shows. The right people are at the show. Now, whether they purchased tickets, they were comped, I don't know, but the right people are at the show. And those people become your promoters. Those people become the people that are talking about you having a good show. And then they go out and let their followers or peers or whatever it is know, and now you're creating a demand. So for me with Trinidad, it was having the right people in the room. I invited anybody and everybody. I sold tickets for $5. I partnered with Complex, and I had to refund people. It was so fucking sad. I was heartbroken because I was over capacity. I didn't want to get shut down by the fire department.
Yikes.
But the exciting thing for me for that was, how the fuck did somebody from Toronto do this in New York?
Yeah.
And for me, that was like a very exciting moment.
It's always
in my
a
life.
big thing for anybody from Toronto to go and crush things in America. I mean, it's just a reality for us.
I mean, I had done Ferg's first show at SOBs prior to that show with Trinidad. And I did Dej Loaf, and she brought out the Locks and Remy right after Remy had come home from jail. And that was my show too. And it was crazy. But the way that Trinidad just shut down, like the way that show created a moment, it was just like, I remember reading recently a Rolling Stone piece about it, and I was like, damn, yeah, that was it. It was like, if you lived in New York at the time, you knew this show was a show to be, kind of thing. And I was like, damn, that's amazing that, that's still out there.
You've been to hundreds of shows, probably 1,000 at this point.
Yeah,
Thousands.
probably.
What makes a good show? Good performer? What are some of the things that people should be thinking about, like the artist?
An artist?
Yeah.
The stage. It really is just about like, how are you interacting with your audience? If you're just standing still and you don't know how to like get them excited, it's hard for them to react, because sometimes they might not know the words, but if they feel the energy that you're giving off in the stage, that's really big. And sometimes it depends. Like, you might get put on a really big stage too early, and you don't know how to manage a crowd, and that might be a detriment to your career. And that happened with an artist recently that I worked with, where they did a show and their energy just wasn't right on stage, and the fans felt it, and
You feel it.
that matters,
You can't hide that.
You can't hide it, and you can't go back to that crowd again. You gotta, like, I don't know what you're gonna do to sell again in that crowd. So once people are like, nah, that shit was whack.
Yeah, Monster Records, you gotta have like really, really strong songs.
100%.
Yeah.
And so sometimes artists specifically, think I got a big record, I can go and I can crush this, it's easy, I can just go and da. And it's like, nah, that's not it, bro. You gotta work extra hard. You know who's an amazing performer? Machel Montano. Amazing fucking performer.
Yeah, he's
I was in Trinidad with French when he was doing Carnival. Bro, I only say this because I recently was like going through old videos and I saw a video of him performing. A fucking beast. Incredible performer. He owns that stage. It doesn't matter if the fucking stage is a kilometer long. The shit is like, he's owning the stage. You know what I mean? Yeah. And not a lot of artists can do that. The one thing I enjoyed with French was that he was a fucking ball. No matter what stage it was on, French was when work came on, bro, I would sit from the middle of the it was so crazy. We did a festival one time and the stage was fucking massive. We did a festival and they're like, who's doing front of house? And he's like, her. I was like, okay. So I'm like, it's like 50,000 people. This is a long time ago. And I'm like, I go through the crowd, like through the festival, and literally like so fucking far. And they're like, okay, you got to tell us when the fire is going to go up. You're going to tell us when the lasers are going to go up. Like, you got to be like our person. Yeah. And I knew every drop of every song. Like, when like every song came on, I already knew. I was like, okay, here, go, fire. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like I already knew all of like, I was in sync because I already knew the song and I knew what he was going to do and I knew what part of the stage he was going to be in. But yeah, so, and he was just an entertainer. He was just so great that it was like, he loved like interacting with the fans. Now, he wasn't the same as like a Travis or a Rocky who will mosh pit or whatever will go in the crowd, but just like the way that he performed his songs, it was just fun.
Yeah.
And I had fun. It was never like being on the road and doing shows with French. Every night was a fucking fun time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I remember going on the road with Jesse as well, and it was like, there was this one thing that I really enjoy doing, and I remember we talked about this, and we're just like, you know, there's a very powerful moment that you can have. We don't know what song it is, but at some point in your career, if you can stand on that stage and not move or not say anything, and just look at the crowd and hold that for like a couple of minutes, you're a G. And I would bet with her, I'd be like, I bet you can't stand there for 3 minutes and not say anything.
Wow.
And she would do it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, she would do it. And the first time we did it, first time, were you there? Maybe you were there at Barclays? No, there was the Hurricane Katrina thing with Rock Nation.
No.
Okay, so it was that show. She just had 2 songs. There was a bunch of artists. Belly actually came on after her. Belly came on right after her. And Belly was like, not to put him on, but I love Belly. He's dope. Yeah. Good people. But like, he saw her perform after this. Yeah. And he's like, damn, I was like, yo, you got me like hyped up. I gotta really like go out there and just crush it. Yeah. And he did his thing and definitely killed it. But Jessie at that show, she did 2 songs. She did Figures and she did Gatekeeper. And Gatekeeper's a deep song. Yeah. This audience doesn't really know who Jessie is.
In Brooklyn.
But like she's got fans there because of like course, that's a good market for her. But at the end of the song, I told her, I'm like, at the end of the Gatekeeper, just hold that pose. Don't do anything. Just see what they say. And like maybe we'll get some crowd, like some chance of Jessie. And it just starts to quietly. And then she's holding it. She's looking out on the stage. She's looking out at the crowd, strong, poised. And then the whole arena is now chanting, Jessie.
That's amazing.
Jessie.
That's amazing.
And she walks off. You know,
I think it depends. Like, I don't know. That's a hard question to answer. You know, it's like what makes a good performance because it depends on the artist. For the R&B artists, they can't do too much moving around. Like for Kehlani, for example, it works for her to dance and to entertain the crowd, right? But like for an artist like Jessie who can take just a guitar and go in the fucking center of the stage and just hold a moment, like that's also impactful, you know? Yeah. It also matters, like some artists can perform on their own and some artists build out an amazing show with like a full, you know, stage presence with a full team. Some have backup singers and whatever the case is, right? So it just really depends on the artist and the way that the music and how they interpret the music on stage. So to me, it's just really more so like, can you connect with your fans? For everybody is different. For Jessie might be different. For French, for sure, would be different. For Belly would be different, you know? Yeah. So it's just like, how you connect, I think, is really the biggest thing.
I think it's really understanding who you are as well, too, as a person.
But understanding it goes back to what I was saying, understanding who your audience is, understanding your crowd. If your crowd if your crowd wants the fucking party and you're sitting there standing still, bro, they're not gonna hear that. Yeah. Like your crowd, your fans have to want that from you. You know, have to go and say, I'm gonna get an emotional, soulful show out of this. Mustafa, when he's performing, if you go to Mustafa's show, you know what the fuck you're going there for.
You're going to cry.
But that's my point. You know what I mean? So it's like you gotta know who your audience is, and you create, as an artist, if you give a shit, you gotta create a show that allows you to express yourself and your music in a way that your audience connects.
I love that.
To your show. Yeah. I'm gonna quote that. I need to run that back. I need to quote that.
I got you. No, we got this on film. Don't worry.
Okay, cool.
Clip it,
please. I need to clip. No, but it's true. And so it's like if you don't know how to do that, then you're just going out there and just winging it, and that fucking sucks because it's not fair to the people that paid money to see you, and it's not fair to you as an artist to put all that effort in to go out on the road and to work because it's real fucking work. A lot of artists think that like, oh, I'm gonna go on the road, it's gonna be easy. That shit is not easy. I would get, and you know, it's funny because you asked about touring, that part of the reason why I started Girl Connected was because I would get so many women coming up to me being like, I love what you do, I want to do what you do. I'm like, no, you don't want to do what I do. This shit is very fucking stressful. And it came from that. I was like, I want to educate people, but especially women who want to work in the music business or are currently working in the music business, what it's going to take to get them to the next level. Because it's not easy. It's not fun and games. Just because I'm next to an artist does not mean that my life is like, a fucking ride. I used to smoke Newport hundreds until I met my husband. Dead ass. I smoked hundreds.
Oh, man.
Newports.
Shit.
Pack after pack. And like,
saying
I don't
you were
smoke
stressed out there.
No, I was saying I was motherfucking stressed. And I'm not anymore. But yeah, so it's like you just have to know it's not for everybody. So on the artist side and on the team side, you can wear you down, and you have to know what you're fucking, you know, setting yourself up for. And some artists are, really good at it and they truly enjoy it. But if you don't enjoy it and you're not connecting with your audience and you don't know what you're doing, it's going to wear you out and you're going to get tired of it. And then it's like, fuck this.
At what point do you start to think about like, the mental health side of things and like getting to a better place, like to make sure that stuff?
Now. It's hard. I don't think a lot of people think about it. I think a lot of people in the business just want to go after things that they want and they forget about what's important to them as people. And I think sometimes we get lost in like what the next person has, and that also causes less of a peace of mind because you're like, am I in the position that I need to be in? That person next to me is doing more than I'm doing.
Did you ever feel that way?
Yeah,
Okay.
of course. Because you compare yourself to other people. Like, am I doing what I should be doing? Am I doing enough? And it wasn't really pre-social media. It's all, of course, during the social media era because you see everything. But it's not something that I dwell on. I don't compare myself to other people. If I'm happy and if I'm at peace with my decisions, I'm at peace with my decisions. So to me, it doesn't really matter as much anymore. But there definitely was a period of my life where it was like, am I doing enough of what I need to be doing to be out there, to be seen, to be in the mix, to be working, you know?
I want to talk about marketing, but I think it's more important that we talk about, and we're going to get to the marketing side
no
of things,
problem.
but I really want to talk about Girl Connected because you're
great.
an amazing advocate for women, and
Yes,
I think
thank
the
you.
program that you started is revolutionary. I think it's
Thank you.
incredible. It's one of the best things that's happened.
Thank you for
in the
being a
music
mentor in
business.
our program as well. Yeah.
I appreciate it, and I'm always here. If you want to call me to be a mentor, I'm always down to do it, man.
Thank you.
I love it. I enjoy it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's great. It's what I like to do. I like to have these conversations and just kind of educate people on this. But tell me about the programs for those people who don't know about the program.
Yeah, I started Girl Connected in 2018 because I noticed that I would literally be outside of clubs and people would be like, I love doing what you're doing. I want to do what you're doing. I want to get in the music industry. And I'm just like, this is not for everybody. This is not, and not to discourage anyone, but it was just more so like, I wanted to provide some insight as to what the job was. Additionally to that, people kept asking me to recommend people for jobs. They still do. Hey, I need somebody in this position. Do you have anyone available? I need somebody in this position. Do you have anybody available? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, I don't want in this industry recommend somebody that would fuck my reputation up because they do some shady shit to an artist team, to a label. You know what I mean? Like, and at the time that I started, a lot of the requests for opportunities were coming from artist teams direct, not necessarily from a label. Because a label is a corporate entity in some capacity where like they can protect themselves. Somebody does, poor performance, they're fired, whatever the case is. But when you're going into an artist's home, you're going into a business like, environment that is a family vibe environment, and you can do some shit that's super fucked up. You carry the weight of that because you recommended this person. You know what I mean? And so I was very
of course.
When you go on the road with an artist, it's a very close experience. You know what I mean? So it's like you're with that person 24/7.
Totally.
Like you send somebody that's the wrong type of person on tour, it can ruin the vibe. It can ruin everything.
In a big way.
The show.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I can't recommend people that I don't know. I needed to at least find a way to see whoever the prospects for an opportunity are, I need to vet them in some capacity. And I was like, what if I was to create a program where I'm literally going through handpicking people based on like what they want to do, what their experience is, and maybe they got to go through some sort of like an education program, and I can evaluate them after, and if they have consistency, and if they have like determination, and if they work well with others. Like I had certain qualities that I think a person needs to possess in order for me to be able to refer them. Then I can actually refer them. And that's, one aspect of it. And the other aspect was just, I genuinely just wanted to educate people of what the music industry is about. And some people, I think through the program, we've had very few instances where somebody was like, this is not for me. And I'm very grateful. I'm so grateful that I was able to provide them that clarity.
Yeah, absolutely.
That at this point in their life, because you can do this shit for 10, 15 years, spend your own money, spend your time, and realize it's not for you.
Spin your wheels, it's not for you, yeah.
Right. And then you're like, you're fucking 40 and you're like, what am I doing with my life? You know? So we had a couple of instances where one of our mentees was in biochemistry, if I'm not mistaken, and she wanted to do tour management. And I sent her on tour with Lil Baby.
Goodness.
She went to the Lil Baby show in New York and in Barclays Center and New York, and the Detroit show, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But then she also did a couple of other festivals. And I remember Maria, my program lead, and I were talking, and she was like, hey, such and such is no longer in touring. She went back to, doing what she went to school for. And I was like, good for her, because this is just, I get it, it's not for everybody. And it seems like you might be super organized and you might be very dedicated and you might really truly feel like you want to do this. And this was a person that wasn't.
Sorry, I would even go as far as to say it's not for most people.
Yeah, no,
This
of
business
course.
is not for most
people, yeah. But touring specifically,
looks
it's
pretty.
very difficult.
Yeah.
And I can wholeheartedly say this was not somebody that wanted to do touring because it seemed exciting. They genuinely just liked the idea of the tour itself. You know what I mean? Not like I want to be next to the artist type of tour. Like that wasn't like that person. They were just so super hard. I mean, they went for they finished for biochemistry. So like they're just very much,
clearly.
They're big on like detail. And
Yeah.
Anyway, and there was another instance I think similar to that where somebody actually was running a label. One of our first year mentees was running a label, and then I found out later on that they ended up completely exiting from the music industry.
Okay.
Which happens, and that's totally okay. So my bringing it back, I wanted to create a program or something that gave women, especially in Toronto, an opportunity to see what the music industry worked like. And so I did a couple of events. I wanted to see if there was interest in it first. So I did an event with Clive Davis in New York at NYU where I did a panel conversation. And Adam Zia, my attorney, he was my speaker, I think, for that. And then I did a panel in Toronto with Naomi Zechner. At the time, she was editor-in-chief of Fader, and Laura Stiles from Hot 97. And then I did one with Sharifa Murdoch. She's chief diversity officer at Kith, but she also started Liberty Fairs, which is a massive trade show. And Jody, who at the time was at Coveteur. She was a writer at Coveteur. And then I did something in Atlanta because one of my friends worked at WeWork in Atlanta. So I did a Girl Connected, kind of like a conversation, and it was just with me. And it was like, I want to say like 15, 20 people showed up, and it was like kind of like a round circle where people were asking me questions about the journey and what they could do. And it was super informative. And then I did another one in London with Caroline Simonescu and Lily Mercer, who owns Viper magazine. And 50 women showed up at a WeWork over there. So these were kind of like I don't want to say pilot.
Paid event? These are paid events or
free
just free?
Event. Yeah. And this was like my pilot of knowing, okay, do women want to show up in a space where there's opportunity to network with other women or learn from other women's journeys? And I realized that there was a necessity for it. And that gave me kind of like the go ahead of like, there should be a program that's launched. So in Toronto, the other events were fairly small. In Toronto, it was like 250 to 400 people. So it was fairly big, right? And I was like, okay, let's go. So Factor got behind the idea. They loved the program. So we launched. So for everybody who doesn't know, Girl Connected is a mentorship program, application-based mentorship program. The mentorship program only exists in Toronto at the moment just because, thankfully, we have funding from the Canadian government. Partial funding, but it exists there. It's mentorship based, and then we provide programming for the mentees that are in the program, but then we also provide programming for the community at large. And primarily our events happen in Toronto, but we also do stuff elsewhere too, outside of Toronto. We get about 250 applications for Girl Connected every year. We select,
Amazing.
We interview, 5 years now, 250 applications, between 200 to 250. We interview about 50 people, 50 to 60, depending on qualified applicants. And then we accept anywhere between, this year we have 12. We've accepted as high as 20 people. So between 12 to 20 people per year.
How can one apply?
You just go online. Applications open in December usually.
Yep.
There's like 2 months, a month, and some change to apply. You can apply. And each year we present streams that we think are going to be the most impactful for our community. And a stream is basically a lane of the music business. So we've had everything from publicity. We've had tour management. We've had artist management.
Oh, so that'll be the focus.
So yes, the focus.
So
when you joined, for example, it was those mentees specifically were in artist management. And the same year you did it, Lenny S did it.
Yeah, I know.
And Lenny S also did artist management as well, but he was.
I feel like we were in the same Zoom one time.
Yeah, it might have been. So
it
was like because we don't want more than 5 mentees per mentor, just because then it gets like too many people.
Yeah.
So it would have been 10 people that got into artist management, but 5 were with Lenny, 5 were with you, right? And then we had the other stream was marketing, and 5 people were with one person, 5 people were with another, basically.
I feel bad for the people that were with me then.
No,
you know, shout out to those. You have choice between Lenny and me, and
that's funny.
Obviously I'd want to go with Kodak.
No. Look.
Shout out Lenny. Yes.
No, the thing is that the mentees, we select mentees based on the people that are available for the program at the time.
Yeah.
It's not like we're saying this is every year the program changes. I know for a lot of people the mentors are the same. Like for similar programs, you have the same mentors, you have the same program, you have the same curriculum. Our program has changed every year.
Yeah.
One year we have offered PR and touring and marketing and management. One year we have this past 2 years, we've had creative direction, marketing, and management, because that is what we felt the community wanted more of. Like, we look at I read every application that comes in. I look at what field every single person is in. Half the time when we do events, I even go through, we have like questionnaires. So I also go through the people that are attending our events. What type of industry are they in? What type of jobs are they in? And so I do this myself to make sure that I'm creating the right programming for the program.
Okay.
So that the mentees that are coming in are like, they can truly benefit from the people that are participating in the program, like the mentors in the program. So when the people that were working with you, 2 of the mentees, I believe, had Latin artists, if I'm not mistaken. So you would have been more impactful in advice to them than Lenny. You know what I mean? In a way. Whereas like some of the people that Lenny was supporting had a different, you know what I mean? Like had different paths. And so we make sure that when we're accepting, if I know, for example, that in 2026, I'm going to have Ruiz available and Lenny available and Gordon, let's say, available, right? As mentors. And by the way, mentors are men, women, it doesn't really matter, because I want everybody's experience. I want people to know that there's like, you can learn from everybody in the business. So if I have these 3 mentors available for next year, I'm going to select, when applicants apply, I'm going to make sure that they are in that same lane that your paths are in, where you can advise them based on that, right? I'm not going to be like, creative director. I'm going to accept people who are applying for creative direction and they're going to be working under Gordon, for example, right? Because his expertise is primarily in management.
Yep.
When I thought about it, I'm like, you and Lenny could probably give direction in creative, like you could probably lead in creative direction, you two. But yeah, so the program is very much, no problem. No, because you've done it.
I'm here.
But the program, it's tailored to the applicants, it's tailored to the mentors we have available. It's very much a tailored curriculum to make sure that people can get the best out of the program. So it's about 6 months. We launched in 2020, and the plan was for it to be in person. And the goal was to bring executives from the U.S. and mentors from the U.S. to come and mentor, women who work in the music business in Canada. COVID hit in March. We launched beginning of March, right after 2 days or 3 days after our first event. Shut down. Everything was shut down. COVID happened. We had to pivot to doing digital. Everything was virtual. So it changed how we did the program. 2020, 2021, it was like COVID was still in full effect. Things were shut down. There was no live events. There was nothing in person, but things were starting to open up a little bit more. 2022, things opened up fully. 2023 was different. 2024 was different. So it's like every year that we've had this program, things have changed. It's never really been a normal year.
How does the program operate now in 2023,
so now
2024?
It's 6
Is it
months.
in person?
Yeah, now it's a hybrid, but it's 6 months. It launches in January. It wraps in June. We launch applications for the following year in December. So now it's more on a rhythm. But we attempted different curriculums and different programs. We did 1 year. The first year was a whole year. Year 2 was 6 months and then 6 months. And that was a lot to like go back to back to back, right? Year 3 was, I think, 8 months or something like that. So it's like, it's changed every year. The focus remained the same. The projects remained the same. The commitment remained the same, but the time has been different. This past 2 years, we've done 6 months, and it's worked wonderfully.
How does everybody graduate from the program, or do you have to go through certain things in order to graduate from the program?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So people have to make sure that they
they
present.
In order for somebody to, so in the program, you work on an actual project that you have to present at the end of the year, at the end of the program, basically. And that project can become a personal pitch for you for what you want to do. Like, we've had artist managers that created their project on an artist that they're working with, and they presented that project to labels down the line. One of the artists that was in last year's or the year before, I don't remember, programming, she just got an offer from a major for one of the artists that she discovered while she was in the program, a group. That group didn't exist prior to this person joining Girl Connected. She joined Girl Connected as an artist manager. When I found, as a part of the program, if you're joining on the management side, you have to have an artist, as you know, right? You have to be working with an artist for you to develop that artist, right? And so this person went and had their eye on an artist. They created a group for the purpose of the program. That group is now getting signed to a label.
Crazy.
Because
who was that participant?
Her name is Shannon.
Okay. Shout out to Shannon.
Yeah.
All right, that's amazing.
Yeah.
What are some other success stories that have come from that?
Lots, but Mish, for example, is an incredible success story. Tamisha, that I was saying before. Tamisha came in she was in year one, Girl Connected, came in under the guidance of Kristen Price, who was at Complex at the time, and then went on to Spring Hill after. And Mish came in as a creative producer, or just a creative. She was doing events around Toronto, and she was creating experiential opportunities more than anything else. As a part of the program, they had to put together, because Kristen at the time was working on ComplexCon, their project was to put together a full production. They were given a budget, and they had to put together a ComplexCon production of like how they envisioned the panels, the performances, how the entire thing would run. And that's what everybody they were in the events stream. Like that's what they were doing. So Vanessa, Tia, Mish, Ali, I think was in that group as well. So it was like their focus was to produce events, right?
Yeah.
And everybody that's the path that they're focused on, you know? So Mish was doing, that's what she did. When she exited the program, she started working at Essence as a creative producer. And then I brought her on to support me with some projects. Essence is the store, the online platform, not the magazine. And then I hired her. I was working on some projects, and I hired her to support me. I did a production of Colors, a season of Colors, and I brought her on as my producer for the season.
Right.
So she led on everything that we did for Colors.
Yeah.
Colors team loved her.
Yep.
And now she leads all of their productions.
That's
globally.
Amazing.
She lives in New York. It's incredible. Tia is amazing. Some people stay in similar jobs, but they grow mentally, spiritually, professionally.
Yeah.
They build more confidence in themselves. Year one and year two, what we heard a lot of was, I have imposter syndrome. It wasn't that I don't know how to do my job. It wasn't that I don't know how the music industry works. It was that I don't feel like I belong in these rooms. I am nervous to speak my mind. I don't have enough confidence in myself. I hate my job. I don't know how to move up from it. And so that's a real fucking challenge. And unfortunately, it's a challenge beyond the music industry, because we got applications in every fucking field, even though it says music industry and it literally is listed into like creative and all of this. We get applications from especially year one and year two, we got applications from women in different fields. They were just like, I just need a support system. I just need a community. I feel like I need to grow professionally, and I'm hoping that somebody can help me. And it's just so sad, and I wish that I could provide that kind of guidance for everybody, but like my expertise is not in everything else, you know? I want to focus on what my expertise is in, which is the music industry.
Of course.
So, but yeah, Vanessa, she grew with Live Nation. She's now, I think, head of all hospitality for all Live Nation venues across Canada.
Vanessa's dope.
Yeah, Vanessa's incredible.
She's great, yeah.
And she's a fucking beast. Like, I love her. And she's had 2 children during this entire process, you know? Cameron McKay, she came from touring company in Canada. I'm forgetting the name right now. A booking agency.
Feldman,
thank you. She came from the brands department at Feldman. She's now running a record label here in the States. She came in from a creative director, a brand partnerships role at a booking agency, and is now working in the music business with selling albums and putting projects out. Completely different.
Yeah. And
she is a different person. She has grown like both professionally and mentally as a person. You know what I mean? Shirley, love Shirley. She came in from Feldman as well in the similar role. She's now at Universal Music Canada, A&R admin.
It's
absolutely incredible.
It's interesting to me that people actually were in the business, still working, but they still applied because they felt like they needed the mentorship to figure it out.
Yeah, Alex Bellissimo, love her to death. She's absolutely incredible. She came from Warner Canada. She had been 10 years at Warner Canada. After the program, she joined the Warner team here. She's been here for 3 years. She relocated. That's right. Absolutely incredible. You know, so it's like, you know, I welcome people who work in the business, because at least they have some insight of like the music industry, and they just need a little bit more guidance. And sometimes it's just confidence. Sometimes it's just like being like, yo, I know this shit. This shit is crazy. So there's a lot, to me, everybody's a success story. You know what I mean? Because I feel like they've grown in some part of their life, even if it's not professionally. It is more in their personal life, you know. But and at the very least, they've created a community. They have a group of people that they can rely on, they can ask advice, they can ask questions. If they don't know what's going on, they can lean on them, right? So KP is another, she's an artist manager out of Toronto. KP is
dope.
doing so much dope
She
shit.
was in, I believe, she was one of my mentees.
Cass, who works at Remix, amazing. Cassandra. Like there's just so many, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of alums, but there's like, to me, it's just incredible. We meet all of the alums every year during a holiday event that we put together, and I get a chance to reconnect with everybody and see what they're working on. Yeah, a lot of people have grown. Like I'm trying to think. Lisa is now working with DMC Grants, and she was out of Hamilton, managing artists, working with events over there too, and now she also works with DMC Grants, writing grants. There's a lot. Like I can't even honestly, I can't even
You had a profound
name
effect.
everybody.
You've had a profound effect on Toronto and the culture of music when it comes to the women.
I saw when Billboard Women in Music Canada list came out, we had about 10 people that were either speakers, mentors, or mentees.
Amazing.
Laura Wilson, attorney from Toronto, incredible. She's at Warner Music, I think, too now. So we had all of these women. I literally went through it and I was like, oh my God, we've made such an impact in the Canadian scene. And then I think the Billboard R&B and hip hop power players came out, US, right?
Yep.
And I went through the list and I was like, holy shit, half of our mentors that we've brought into the program are here.
Yeah.
Gordon. No, I don't think Gordon was a mentor, but he was a speaker. Sorry. Nicole Wiscarco, Riggs Morales, Melissa Mahood. I'm trying to think of all the. Literally, I remember having this conversation with Billboard where I was like, we have 90% of our mentors are part of your power players, and 10 out of or 11 out of 15 of your Women in Music Canada are part of our community. So I know that there's an impact that we're making.
Absolutely.
And I hope that one day our executives are kind of running point on a lot of the labels and label meetings.
I'm sure they will. And I think one of the reasons you bring up this thing where you say imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure I get this right because I heard this the other day and I thought it was a really good explanation of what imposter syndrome really is. It's not necessarily that you don't feel like you belong in the room or you don't belong in the space. It's that you actually really want to be in that room and you're trying to figure out how to be there, but you just don't know exactly how.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an energy there that is I really want to be a part of this group. I really want to be a part of this dynamic, but I don't know if I'm ready yet, and I don't know if how do I actually approach this conversation? I remember that actually back in the day when I was first getting into the Toronto scene and seeing everybody kind of just knew each other, and I was this new kid in the corner being like, hey, I do music videos,
I know the feeling, yeah.
It'd be $200 to do a music video, and now it's just a completely different story, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, unfortunate set of circumstances that we all got together, but a lot of people were at Bishop's.
I was just, when you were asking about Hip Hop Canada, I was gonna say it was he was one of the pioneers. He was there.
Bishop Brigante.
Yeah, he was a part of the fabric that is Hip Hop Canada.
Yeah. Do you have any stories with Bishop?
No. Not that I want to. No, but he.
We'll have a full conversation with Ken Masters when he wants to go.
Masters used to come to the parties I did in Kitchener all the time. Yeah, so
I had
Bishop. I had a picture. Yeah. With Bishop too. I had a picture of when I did my 22nd birthday, hosted by Drake at Lobby in Toronto. I don't even know. I was my 20th birthday, so a long time ago. And Bishop, I have the photos still, and it was those, everybody had to wear suits. I made everybody wear suits. I don't know if you ever saw those photos. I'll show it to you after. But it was there's JD Era, Bishop Brigante, Ken Masters, and Johnny Rocks, all wearing suits. And that's
hilarious.
At my birthday party. I had them all wear photos. And Will,
all oversized suits, for sure.
Yeah, Will was taking photos with his camera at the time. I had a photographer that was doing my wall, basically. But Will was just going around taking pictures of everybody with his phone. And he was like, man, somebody needs to be taking pictures of the vibe. And I was like, you should be shooting all of my events and you should be taking all these pictures. And that's how I realized that Will was a great photographer to bring out.
Yeah. He was great at the events. He was always capturing amazing moments.
All the best moments. But yeah, so Bishop came to my party. But Bishop was, like I said, he was part of the fabric that was Hip Hop Canada.
I mean, not just the website. I feel like Hip Hop Canada.
Hip Hop Canada culturally, not just culturally. That's what I mean, like culturally, not just like editorially. Culturally, he was. When you think Hip Hop Canada, you cannot not think Bishop Brigante.
It's absolutely true.
Yeah,
I mean, I had a lot of love for Bishop, man. It hit me like in a really like, it hit me pretty heavy.
Yeah,
you know. I think there was this thing where I looked at Bishop Brigante, and this is no shade to any of the artists before, but before I knew who Bishop was, before we became friends, I looked at Bishop as like, this guy made it.
The rapper, yeah.
The rapper. No, as a rapper, but like for me, in that time, I was like, no, but he's a rapper that I actually like think he's fucking ill.
Yeah.
Like he can bang with the people from New York.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how, and I remember we all saw him on 106 in Park, and that was a moment for everybody.
Yeah.
We're like, wow, this guy's there. And then he dropped, one of my favorite records of his is From Kipling to Kennedy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I just, I was a fan of Bishop. And then I remember he was in the movie with Ray Liotta.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Narc.
Yeah.
And he had this great momentum. And then when, he was just always there. He was doing, whether it was Hip Hop Canada, part of the fabric of that website, and then King of the Dot.
Oh yeah, I remember King of the Dot. Yeah, that was massive, yeah.
Yeah, with Organic. And then he was obviously building his own career. And then we became friends. And yeah, I mean, he was just a good dude, man. And I just really liked his sincerity. He was just he was authentically him. He didn't know how to be anybody else, it seemed like.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I don't know, he's just a dope dude, man. So, it's unfortunate that he passed away from cancer. But at that funeral...
yeah, you were saying.
I mean, he would have loved it for sure because, I mean, like, he was there for sure. Like, his presence, you could feel it. But like, yeah, like 400 people there. And
That's
a
crazy.
lot of people came together in the community. And to be honest with you, in many ways, everybody grieves differently, but like a lot of people didn't see each other for many years.
Yeah.
So it was an opportunity for everybody to connect.
Yeah.
And he brought
everybody together.
Yeah,
he brought everybody together.
It was great. It was beautiful. I don't know how I got into this tangent over here, but
no. I think it's it's crazy. Like I think it was very it was like a chapter. He represented for me. He represented a chapter of my life in entering the music industry, you know what I mean? So
same.
It was sad. Like him passing felt like I don't know. I don't know. It was sad, but I don't know how to describe it. It was just because it's like it's a chapter of it makes it almost real that like this shit could end at any time. You know what I mean? And I don't know. It was just I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah. It gives you the opportunity to actually like make sure. Bring it back to Girl Connected is just like, you gotta really do your best to figure out what your purpose in this world is.
Yeah.
What you should be doing, right? Because, like you said, some people can be stuck in a place for like 10 or 15 years. They don't even like it. They don't know how to get out of that situation.
That's
tough, right?
That's the hardest thing. I feel like that fucks with your confidence so heavy to not know how to get out of a situation that you're not happy in. Because a lot of people.
It's the worst.
I said this recently in something else. When I was talking in a different conversation where it was like confidence, like what shakes your confidence. And I said a lot of people are stuck in positions that they don't want to be in, but getting out of that position means leaving your job or leaving a partnership or a relationship, whatever it is. And sometimes
it's an identity.
Yeah. Of course, after 10, 15 years, it becomes an identity and you don't know what's next. You don't even know what you're good at that point. You don't even know what value you can bring to a company or to a person or whatever it is. And I think most people stay in shitty situations because they don't know how to be outside of this. They don't know who they are beyond that, you know? And, but I feel like that truly shakes your confidence, and that's you're only doing a disservice to yourself because you don't know what you're truly capable of until you allow yourself to experience things that bring you joy and bring you happiness. So for me to see somebody in a position of 20 years but they're not happy and it just becomes like a day in day out, life is more than that. Life it's gotta be more than that. There's no way that we're here to just clock in, clock out, and then fucking go home and do it all over again and live barely,
Yeah, it's like Groundhog Day.
Yeah,
over and over again.
I can't do that. I don't have that vision for myself.
Did you see that at the label when you were working there?
I did. There was a lot of people that have been there for a very long time, and some of them were happy, some of them probably weren't, but for me, it's like I couldn't. Maybe. You know, it's so funny because when there was an announcement, there was an announcement made that I was a part of, and I remember somebody hitting me being like, I can't wait until you're running the label next. And I was like, I don't know that I'll make it that far.
Really, once the announcement happened, you're already kind of doubting whether you can be in that building.
No.
By the way, I remember that announcement. I remember that photo.
Yeah. So it's not that I was doubting. It's just that like to run a label is very. I don't know. It would take many years to get to that point.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, I don't know what that trajectory looks like for me. You know what I mean? Within a label. Like I want to be able to, for me to work within a label, I need to be able to have the freedom and the opportunity to execute shit. And if I can't do that, and if I feel like I'm not doing that, then I don't feel like I'm efficient at my job, and I can't do that, you know?
You ended up becoming the SVP of marketing.
I was head of marketing again. My role, the reason why I joined the label was to join Geffen as head of marketing.
What did that entail at a label? And was it different than what you expected?
No. It entailed exactly what I thought it would entail. I was running a team, I was leading a team, and I was leading rollouts on artists as with my team support, like leading those projects, but I was supporting them basically. Geffen was a lot of JV partnerships with some incredible partners and incredible artists, and my job was to see all of the releases through, plus sign artists that was signed directly to Geffen.
So being on the label side, because you were on the manager side, then you got to see like, you know, behind the iron curtain, so to speak.
Yeah.
And what are some things that artists who are signed to a label and their management teams really the ones that have to communicate with the labels, how do you think that they should be communicating? What are some things that managers don't see that they should actually just take into consideration?
Yeah, I mean, like the sad thing for me is seeing artists assigned to a major because you have an ecosystem and then you don't take advantage of it, and then you're just kind of like doing your own thing, and you're maybe letting the label know, maybe you're not, and it's like you're doing a disservice to yourself. Why would you sign here? Like, yes, it comes with a check. I get that, but that check is really just debt. Like it's money that you have to pay back at some point, right? I know it's not immediate. I know it's not something that it's like your sales they have to recoup it back. But really and truly, it's like you should join a label because you truly love the team that's going to be supporting your project, because you like how they work together, and you like how they're going to work your project. And if they don't have the information they need to have, how the fuck are they supposed to do their job? And like the one thing that I saw was artists wanting to move on their own because the process took too long, which I get it. It is a label. It's a corporate entity that requires the approval of multiple people in order to open up X amount budgets or to approve things that you need to get done. You're stressing me. You're telling me this. But it's not. It doesn't have to be stressful.
Okay, how does it not become stressful? Because I'm the person you're talking about right now.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Manager. So like, let's.
I'm sorry. It is to me.
No, apologize.
Look. It can't, of course it's stressful when you need money tomorrow because you have an opportunity that's happening right now and the label's saying, I need a week and a half to get approvals from everybody for this. I understand that it's stressful, but my point is that everything doesn't have to be a fight and everything doesn't have to be a battle. It's not us versus them.
I agree.
And it's like, I think that it can be on both sides. Like I've been in situations, or I've seen situations where an artist wants to do something and the label rep, and not from my job, just in situations I've been in before, automatically the answer is no. It's like, it starts with a no. You know what I mean?
Like, it's
like, yeah. Not when I was working there. I'm just saying I've been in situations where I've been on the artist side, and the second you open your mouth, you're like, I want to execute this idea. It's like, no. You're met with an immediate pushback.
Yeah.
And that only discourages you. And that just makes you be like, fuck this. We're going to do it anyway. Fuck the label. I'm not going to work with you because I'm just going to do it myself anyway.
Right.
And I feel like that frustration, it shuts down the communication between the label and the artist, or the artist manager, or the artist team, or whoever it is, because you're not finding a solution. And it's not always on the artist, on the manager to find that solution. Sometimes it is on the label to find that solution, to come to terms with saying, okay, we can't do this, but how about we do this?
Yeah.
Or like, what is the middle ground?
Yeah.
So I've seen that pushback firsthand, both while working at a label and on the other side, where it's kind of like, bro, it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be a fight. It can't just be, what do you need? This is what you need? Okay, let me walk you through the system of how things operate here. And because they operate in this way, you cannot get what you need right now. But What can I get you in the meantime so that you can still execute your vision? And I find that not everybody at a label wants to go through that process of educating the artist
I was
team.
going to say, yeah, but Lola, how many of those people are actually doing that?
I know that. I was doing that.
Of course you were.
And so for me, if I got an artist, a label partner that came in and said, I need to support a tour, and my artist is going to go on tour, and I need the money tomorrow.
Yeah.
And my conversation is, why does this artist need to be on this tour? What is the purpose of this?
Right.
What are you going to get out of it? What is the plan once the tour is done? Do you absolutely need it? Is this something that you need me like to really fight for
That's
you?
great.
The money is not going to come right now. The money might come in 3 weeks, so you might have to front it, but I will do my best to try to get you this approval. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But it's a matter of a conversation. Or like I've been in situations where an artist wants to release, a featured artist wants to release a project, and it conflicts with the timeline of the artist that's signed at the label. So immediately the label's like, no, you can't release it. Block. You know what I mean? And it's like, why are we blocking it? You know? Why is it a no right away?
Yeah.
Like maybe that timeline can help us release the next project. You know what I mean? And so I find that it's like both parties have to be able to communicate in a way that is educational to each other.
Yeah.
Because sometimes your label person, whether it's a marketing director, whether it's a digital person, whether it's whoever it is that's like that you're talking to, maybe they don't understand your point of view. Maybe they don't understand why this is so important to you. And you just saying, I need this right now, is not answering. They got to go to their bosses and get this budget approved or whatever it is that they need to get approved.
Yeah, of course.
If they don't know how to communicate your needs to their team, it's not happening. So sometimes it's not the person that you're talking to that's shutting it down. It's because that person, it doesn't know how to communicate what you're trying to do to whoever they got to go to report to. And that is a challenge. And so there's all this miscommunication and no one knows how to properly communicate shit. And then people get on calls and it's like animosity between artists and artist managers and labels. And again, I've been on both sides of it. I've been on calls when the artist management side is crickets and no one's talking. It's like, you know, and then I've been on the label side, crickets, no one's talking. And it's like you got to break that, you know, that really awkward silence to be like, okay, guys, what are we doing? What is the plan? What is going on? And sometimes you get beat down and you're like, yo, I don't want to do this shit. Like, you know what?
Totally.
Fuck it. You don't want to give me the information I need for me to be able to move the needle for you. I'm not going to go to bat for you. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes with the artist representative, whether that is a JV partner, whether that is an artist manager, whether it is whoever it is that's speaking on their behalf, if they're not willing to take the extra step to communicate the artist needs to the team, the person that's repping you might just be like.
So how do you communicate that though? I mean, is it worth just like, you know,
breaking
down to it? Like
breaking
email,
it down.
communication, whatever's your best form of communication.
Best form of communication is email. It's a memo. You're putting it as a memo. This is what you need. I emailed you on this day. You can refer back to it. You can follow it up. You can loop in other people. Email is the best way. Stay off text. Stay off calls. I've been in a lot of situations where somebody said they heard a different thing. One conversation, people perceived two different things from that conversation. I said this. No, you said this. I thought I said this, and so things were not communicated properly. On text, it can be a lot of like short form messaging where things are not clear. Put it on email. Send an email to whoever you want to get your idea across and say, this is a breakdown. This is what I'm looking for. Video budgets are one of the biggest challenges that I find for artists and artist teams to get approvals from the label. An artist wants to shoot a video tomorrow, and especially in hip hop, an artist has an idea, they're linking up with an artist, they're shooting the video tomorrow in Miami, need a budget approved, let's go. Label, it's Friday night. Everybody's home.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Tell the artist that they can't shoot that video with this other artist that just linked up? An opportunity just came along. You know what you need to be doing? Send an email to whoever your label team is and your creative team that's supporting the project and say, hey, an opportunity has come up. We're shooting this video. This is a breakdown of the budget that we're thinking of. It's not accurate. It's not like up to speed. You know, this
budget.
It's not accurate. It's like an estimate of what, you know what I mean? It's an estimate of what we think we're going to need. Would love to get an approval on it. We need to move on it soon because this is what's happening. There will be times where it'd be like, hey, I need a reimbursement on this video that we shot 5 weeks ago. Oh yeah, we never said anything to you about it, but
we spent the money.
We spent the money and it happened, so I need y'all to reimburse. That's not cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know
happens.
but it happens. And I know that you got to do that in order to keep the artist happy because moments happen in real time. And the challenge that a lot of people have is that, well, labels can't happen. Labels don't support moments in real time. They need 5 weeks of delivery. They need all of this stuff in advance, and shit is coming out tomorrow, and all of that stuff. And it's kind of like, I was talking to an artist manager today who said they know their schedule of their artist all the way until September. They know exactly, the artist has sat with that person, with their manager, and knows exactly what they want to do from now until September. I wish that people could, I know it doesn't happen. I know firsthand, I didn't know what was happening the next day until September. So I was mind blown. I was like, damn, you know what you're going to do from now to September? That's
I'm just thinking
crazy.
in my head, I was like, Jesus, good, man, good on him.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't happen very often, but like, even if you can know, at least determine the things that you're going to need. If you're recording with an artist, if you're recording with an artist and you know that 4 out of the records that they recorded are standout records, you're likely going to need videos for them, just send a fucking email and be like, hey, here's the records that we think are standouts.
Here's where we're
Here's
at.
what we're thinking. Here's what we're thinking visually. This is some of the creative people that the artist wants to work with. We're estimating this kind of budget. Can we get a pre-approved, like just a general idea? So at least you have some sort of communication where you have come to the table with an idea and you've expressed that you need X amount of budget support. You know what I mean? But like to go to the label X amount after and be like, reimburse me for something I spent without your approval, without your awareness, without your knowledge, that sucks. Artists, the other thing that happens all the time is artists approve side artists features and they don't let the label know that they did a feature, and then their record comes out and then no one sent in a label clearance, and then the label's like, what the fuck is this? And you got a record coming out next week, and now that record is gonna bump your shit in the algorithm because
you're not getting,
you're giving primary, all of the details. So like, and to break it down further for people who might not be aware, when you're dropping a song and you are a featured artist on a song and you are listed as primary on that song, the algorithm on Spotify is gonna pick up that song as your latest release. So if you have a song that dropped a week prior to that, the following week when this new feature that you just did dropped, that feature is going to bump your record off the algorithm. And so now when it comes to playlisting, that song is going to be the priority, your feature, that you might not have given a fuck about. You might have just have given a verse to somebody just for the sake of giving them a verse.
And so what that looks like on Spotify is actually when you're actually looking at it at the top of your Spotify
it says
profile,
latest release.
Latest release,
right.
Exactly.
So
if you
just dropped a song last week, and now this week, this other artist you just gave a verse to, and you just gave them the permission to put you give them a primary to drop a record with your feature on it, drop their shit. Now that is your latest release. And so now when editors are looking to playlist a song, they're going to look at that as your latest release versus your record that might be a focus track, a focus single.
That the label's working. And
that the label's working, they're spending money on. And when I'm saying spending money, there's campaigns, you have a publicist working it, you have people pitching it, and now all of a sudden Spotify comes in and says, oh, well, we play this brand new record that just dropped, And that causes miscommunications and you know what I mean, and issues happen. So when I say communication, it's really just letting people know what you're doing. Sometimes it's just as easy as that. But I do think that on the label side, for me, it took a lot of education of knowing what the process was, so that I could explain it better to artist teams and artist managers.
Totally.
And that made the process easier for me so that I wasn't the label. Like, I did not want that. I was like, I want to work at a label and I want to run this department, and I don't want to be the anti to the artist team. I want them to feel like we're a team and we're working together, and Lola has our back. You know what I mean?
That's a dope perspective. Yeah, so you're trying to make sure that the artist and artist management, they're not looking at you as the corporate company. They're looking at you as Lola Plaku.
Yeah, like I worked for 20 years in the music business to be an ally to the artist. Like the last thing I want is to spend to now go into a label system and be like, well, fuck you. You know what I mean? And I lose the rapport that I've built with people. You know what I mean? And so for me, it's like I was faced with a situation one time where clearing a record specifically was like, it affected our release schedule. And the people on the other line of the call were my friends from time, my peers. And I was like, nah, it can't be a fuck you. I gotta figure this out. Because these are my peers, these are people that I've worked with. This can't be a us versus them type of situation, you know what I mean? So I was like, okay, what is the middle ground? How can we find a place where everybody's happy, where y'all are happy and you're getting a release date, and we're happy and we're getting a release date? Because like now we're going into, and I sat back, I remember sitting in my office on my couch and I said, Lola, no matter what, you cannot change who you are. You cannot be a different person than who you've been for 20 years in this music business. I made that promise to myself. Because like, it's easy to make decisions sometimes based on like where you're at and not who you are. And for me, it's like, you got to remember who you are and the ethos with which you operate with. And sometimes that works within a system and sometimes it doesn't, But I literally said to myself, like, operate within this business and within these lines in the way that who you are. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, so those are some of the communication tips that I would say for anyone that's signed at a label. And if you don't want to work with a team, then don't sign at a label. Do it independent.
Right.
Go get a loan. You know what I mean? Because that's technically what it is, but you don't want the resources. A record label has somebody working on the creative team that can source directors for you, that can source behind the scenes photo for you, that can literally work with you to build out your vision and the world that you want your music to live in. The label can source out PR, and if it's not the person at the label that's doing the best job at PR, lean on them to support you to find the right PR company for you. The label might have a sync department that so many people don't lean into. You know what I mean? Like it makes there's a whole sync department that's responsible for getting you placement in film and TV. I'm sure half the artists don't even think about that. It's like going to a label and saying, "Hey, what songs, what shows are you pitching for?" I don't think I ever had an artist come to me and say, "What TV shows and what movies are y'all pitching for right now? Can I create something for sync?" There's beyond that. There's gaming, there's Roblox, there's Fortnite, there's FIFA, there's 2K, there's songs that are created specifically for pitch for those, right? So it's like an artist could go and say, what are y'all looking for? How can I help you help me? How can I help y'all do your job? And there's so many other departments that exist within a label, and each label obviously has different departments, and some people spend resources on different things. But my point is that half the time, most artists don't even know the teams that work them, And then you have the digital team, which is massive, huge, right?
Big deal now.
And then the marketing lead, obviously. Most people know their point of contact, their product manager, PM, and that's it. And they don't know anybody else.
Right.
They don't know the radio team. They don't know the digital team. They might know the digital person because it's a big deal now, but they don't know the PR person. They don't know none of that.
Yeah, super important that you know all these different departments that can help you out.
Yeah. And sometimes, sorry to cut you off, sometimes it's like, tell them what you want.
Yeah.
Tell them what, I would get artists who will go and, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. I wouldn't get artists. I've seen, in my experience, outside of the label, an artist and an artist team going and hiring a publicist because the label publicist wasn't effective, right? Did you ever express to that publicist what your vision was for your artist? If you did and they didn't get it, cool. You're within your grounds to say, you know what, fuck this. I'm going to go my own way. But I have been in situations where no one has expressed, these are our goals. I want to be on Rolling Stone, Billboard. I want to be on the roundups. I want to be on year ends. I want to be on, the lists or whatever. I want to be on, Teen Vogue. My goal is XYZ. And then I want you to help me to get to that point. A perfect use of a label publicity, an artist with a vision is Cardi. When Cardi signed to Atlantic, Ashley Kalmanowitz, she was also a mentor for Girl Connect. Shout out to Ashley. She was leading PR over at Atlantic, but then also Patience, who worked with Cardi, also did PR. She had a vision for her. She still works with Cardi B. They elevated her. I don't know if you remember when she was first putting music out. She literally was doing all of the music magazines, but then she also did fashion. And she literally elevated herself from being just a music artist to doing the fashion pieces, to doing fashion editorials, to doing the covers of all of those editorials. That's an artist that had a vision. Whether that came from her and her team, whether that came from the publicity department at Atlantic, they did an amazing job at developing that artist in the right PR space of where she wanted to go. But I know for a fact, I know for sure that they had somewhat of a
intentional
roadmap of where they were trying to go. You know what I mean? And whether it was her team or the labels team, they helped get them to that vision. And so I think that if something is not working for you, then speak up and say what's not working and figure out how to fix it. And if you can't fix it, then do your thing. Cool, whatever. But I find that a lot of times people get turned off by by something that didn't work out right, and then they just don't communicate.
By one small little thing.
And sometimes it's one person. And like I said, a lot of the times that one person is not even the person making the decisions. They probably just don't know how to explain something to their bosses, and they're just shutting you down just because they didn't know.
Very important. Very important for people to understand on the artist management side or on the artist team side that the person that you're communicating to, they might shut you down, but you got to understand that there's a whole process with that because they have to report to somebody.
Yeah.
And then that person as well has to be responsible for the budgets that have been given out to everybody else.
Yeah.
And if you ever have to go and report to Tom March, you better fucking know what the fuck you're talking about. Because he will take you to task.
Oh yeah, no, Tom's great.
Shout out Tom.
Tom is absolutely amazing, man. He's very meticulous, and it's so crazy.
Oh, is he ever?
Tom pays the same attention, and one thing about him is that he pays the same attention to an A-list artist or somebody that's really massive as he does to the small artist. He cares about the schedule, the trajectory, the rollout of the baby artists that are signed as much as he does about the massive artists. He genuinely cares.
Yeah, absolutely.
He wants to see everybody succeed.
Yeah, 100%. I won't say who, but one time he called me. And early on in the career of me managing Jesse, but there was a feature artist that he didn't look too kindly on. And he called me and he goes, I'm not gonna do a British accent, but he basically just like, he's like, Ruiz, what the fuck
are you doing?
I'm like, what do you mean? And he's just like, why the fuck would you do that? That's not the right look. And I was just like, what are you talking about? And in my head, I'm like, I don't know, we just got $50,000 for this shit. Like, like this is early on. And I'm like, it seemed like a right look to me. He's like, no, man, here's why this isn't a look. And I'll break it down for you. And he just like went through like from A to Z, broke it down for me.
He will give you, I have seen Tom put together a rollout plan on the fucking spot for an artist that he's not even working. Crazy. Literally, he'll get on a call. He got on a call. I don't remember the artist. I don't remember the plan at this time. But he got on and he was like, we can do this, and then we do this, and then you go on tour, and then you do this, and you perform this, and you go here. He literally laid the entire thing out, and I said,
he's a beast.
Holy fuck! He laid out an entire plan right there and then. It's incredible. So yeah, he genuinely cares about the success of his artists. That's for sure.
I've said this before, and I think I'm pretty confident in this prediction. But I think at one point he'll probably run one of the major three.
Well, I mean, he's running Capitol now, so
he runs Capitol, but I'm talking about he running Universal Music or the other two. But like, I think at one point, Lucian's probably going to do this until
God knows when.
But at one point, I do feel like Tom could be that person that could run that entire company.
Yeah,
and then not to take away anything from the other people.
Of course. Yeah, I honestly like.
That's the thing.
I wish him
here's the thing. When it comes to those labels, when you get to know the people, you do really get to understand that they are people. And they do have the best of intentions. They do want to see your artist succeed, right? But they have to ensure
bottom line
that there's a bottom line that has to be taken care of.
That's what we meant. Yeah. I mean, I was saying this.
Exactly right.
I was saying this earlier to the person I was meeting with, and I was like, I had an artist that wanted a $20,000 budget for a video, and the artist their views were in the 100,000 on YouTube, right? That doesn't justify multiple, not just one, not the latest one, multiple. I feel like the highest video was like maybe 150K or something. That does not justify a $20,000 budget for a video.
Not in this economy.
So my point is, there's so much more content that you can create with 10K, with 5K, with 20,000, multiple pieces of content to generate you more views and more income and more earnings than spending it on a music video that's clearly not generating the amount of views. Clearly your audience is not gravitating to these pieces of content. It might be your way of storytelling. It might be how you want to tell the story of the music visually, but it's not connecting with the fans. Mm-hmm. So at some point you got to revisit, okay, obviously they don't really care as much about this piece of content. How can I invest this $20,000 in a more beneficial way? And I think like that artist team specifically was like, oh, we'll pay out of pocket to meet the additional budget, overage, or whatever the case is. And it's kind of like, cool, you can do that, but it's not about that.
Yeah.
The point is that this shit is not connecting. And you got to figure out how can it connect. We shot, Chino Pacas was one of the artists that worked at Interscope, incredible original Mexican artist. And we did these performances. We did a Dolby experience for him here in LA when the album dropped. And we had these performance videos. The Dolby screen is absolutely incredible. Like it's amazing. And the quality of the video is like really great. And the sound is Atmos. So you have to have Atmos mixes in order for you to play the music. So it was kind of like a playback listening for fans. And the Dolby team was like, you can take advantage of the screen, or you can just have a black screen while the song is playing. I was like, well, play me something on the screen. And they played their trailer. My jaw dropped. I was like, yeah, we're gonna need visuals because there's no motherfucking way I'm playing this music and I'm not doing that. And that required shooting something from scratch. So I had 48 hours. I literally got him and his entire band together, and we shot four or five performance videos from the album that all the songs that we were going to play back. He had a record with Drake called Motor Capone. So for that, we had a music video, which was going to play. And then we had 5 other records that didn't have any visuals to it, that I literally shot visuals in 48 hours with an amazing director that was able to export in the format that Dolby needed it. And one of the performances just reached 101 million views.
Wow.
These were like
amazing.
These were like I don't want to say low budget. These were just like, not music videos that required massive budgets. It was really just like performance videos. Performance videos like a From the Block performance, On the Radar performance, whatever it is. It was just a performance video, stripped down, just him and the band, nothing really crazy. He's sitting on a stool, just singing his heart out. And 101 million views one of the videos.
That's the shit that's going to connect more than anything these days. The authenticity of that. Even just having that high polish of a music video. Sometimes looking at that. These kids these days, they're like, it's too much of a commercial for me. I'm not really fucking with that.
This just worked, So those were shot specifically for the Dolby thing. But I was like, I'm still going to release them. I'm like, the songs don't have any videos. There's no music video. One of the songs was connecting on socials as well. And I was like, you know what, this is going to be the video for it. But it's just a series of performance videos. And so Chino Pacas, Morena Canela is the song that I'm talking about. It's a fire record.
You are forever going to be in the artist's corner.
Always. Always.
That's amazing about you. I mean, I think anybody that's had an opportunity to work with you.
Thank you.
Very privileged.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
We're done? This is it?
Well, I want to know what you got coming up next.
Running a label, man. Running a label. No, I'm joking.
You can run Capital when when Tom starts to run UMG.
I want to be in the artist corner always, and so whatever way I can do that, I would love to do that from a label capacity in order for me to truly help them take advantage of the opportunities that exist within the label ecosystem.
Okay.
Whether that is a smaller venture label, whether that is a major label, it doesn't really matter to me. But I do want to be. I want to help artists and the people behind them grow, and their companies grow, and educate them on truly everything they're missing out on by not doing things right. You know, so
we should be clear. You're no longer at the label right now. So
I'm no longer in the scope, of course. So my company does consulting, so that's what I'm doing. And I'm working on the editorial side. I'm working all over the place, but special projects, that's what I'm doing right now. So what I'm doing right now is special projects. Where I want to be down the line is really building catalog and building an ecosystem for artists to take advantage of, whether that is within a label system, whether with a management company, major label, JV, whatever it is. But that's what ideally I want to, continue doing. But at the moment I'm supporting artists and I'm doing special projects.
Yeah.
So fun times.
Continuing to shape culture. Help
shape. forever shaping culture.
No matter how much you want to get away with it, you're always going to get brought into it.
I might still some plans. Who knows? I might go back to that.
Lola, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate this.
Thank you for having me on. This is fun. I look forward to seeing it.
You enjoy it? It's good?
Yeah. It's cathartic. It doesn't feel like it's an interview. It feels like a conversation, right?
That's what we try to do over here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No, I appreciate you, man. Thank you.